please call this meeting to order, and please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Kaplan. Here. Councilmember Dickinson. Here. Vice Mayor Talamantes. Councilmember Pleckbaum. Councilmember Maple is expected momentarily. Mayor Pro Tem Guerra. Here. Councilmember Jennings. Here. Councilmember Vang. Here. And Mayor McCarty.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilmember Jennings, can you please lead us in the land acknowledgement and pledge?
Please rise if you are able. This is the acknowledgement in honor of Sacramento's indigenous people and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, Patton, Witten, and the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe. May we acknowledge and honor these Native people who came before us and still walk beside us on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together in the active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's history, their contributions, and their lives. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Attorney, do you have a report out from closed session?
There's nothing to report.
Thank you. So, Mayor, we now move to special presentations. The first is recognizing North Natomas 11U All-Star Softball as Northern California Little League State Championship, and presented by Councilmember Kaplan.
Councilmember Kaplan.
Oh, thank you, Madam Clerk. I think it's important, as I'm recognizing you, I want our ladies to come up front, so you should be front and center. So you can face us, it's okay. So this is council. I want to present our North Natomas Little League 11U All-Star Softball team as the Northern California Little League State Champions. So it's been a while since North Natomas Little League has brought home a state banner, but what's even more impressive is they've broken the glass ceiling, and the softball side has never brought home a state banner until now. Congratulations. I am so proud of you. Coach Sergio Martinez, coaches Gabe Kohler, Kelly Shaw, and Ryan Espero, thank you for your dedication for these young ladies and your leadership in what you gave them. But I'm going to say to Olivia, Camila, Isabella, Layla, Abby, Jaya, Emma, Aaliyah, Naomi, Mariana, Sophia, Gracie, never forget this feeling. And be proud of yourselves. This is something that very few people get to experience, but you guys did this, and you did it as a team, together. And I am so excited when Little League begins again, and I get to come out to the Little League fields and support you guys, because not only are you guys champions on the fields, but you're champions off the fields, because you are showing what it looks like to work together to be state champions. And so I am just beyond honored. And I got an extra prize. My heart is happy. I get to hang in my office and be just a small part of your win, something that I want to appreciate and thanks Parks for. Our Little League fields did not have a softball pitching area for our young ladies and our softball players. They had to go over and use the boys' side. And so with the latest upgrades we did last year to the North Natomas Regional Park and the Little League fields, the girls now have their own softball pitch, which thank you for recognizing me and making my heart happy in this. But I really just want to turn it over to Coach Sergio Martinez to say a couple of words.
Hello. Cool. Thank you guys. So I'm Coach Sergio Martinez. Thank you guys. Thanks City Council members for this recognition for our girls. And said special thank you to Council Member Lisa Kaplan, who's been a champion of women's sports for our community. Said, as she was saying, last year North Natomas Regional Park got lights at our fields, which allowed our girls to be able to play under the lights, which is a really cool experience for anybody who's playing softball or baseball. Not only that, we got the bullpens added in. As we were talking earlier, the girls used to have to run over to the boys' side to go use the boys' bullpens if the boys weren't using them, because then they'd have to wait for the boys to finish to be able to use them and create a confusion, and it just wasn't necessary. So getting that added was definitely a really good thing. But I think today is really not just about the championship, but it's about pride for the girls, because these 11-year-old girls accomplished something that very few teams have had the opportunity to do. And we're very happy that they were able to represent not just themselves, our coaches, but our community and Sacramento as a whole. So as you guys can see on their chest right now, they have North Natomas, but underneath we actually have the city. So it actually has the bridge and the city, everything in Sacramento there. Last year we made it to the championship and we ended up losing. So our 11-year-old team lost, but this year they, through perseverance and working very hard, they fought back, they picked each other up, they believed in each other. And what matters most is that they played together as a team. And because that's what champions do, when you play together as a team, not as individuals, it makes it a lot easier to hold each other up and make it easier to win. So when we had big hits, every girl on the team celebrated. When we made mistakes, every girl was there to pick each other up. It was an amazing feeling to see all 12 work together. Out of all 12, we had 5 girls pitch in the tournament, which normally most teams only have 1 or 2 girls pitch, and we spread out the wealth to everybody and allowed everybody to have opportunity to make good plays, to make good hits, and to actually to finish the plays on a really great play, finish the game that way. But as I said, it wasn't just about the state championship, but it was about the girls doing it for the city and representing with class, with toughness, and with pride, and you girls did it the right way. So thank you for representing North Natomas and representing the city of Sacramento and the whole greater area. So thank you guys for the opportunity here. Appreciate it.
So, council members, I'd love to call you up. Vice Mayor Talamantes. Our system isn't working.
So as the other council member representing North Natomas and South Natomas, I just want to say felicidades, congratulations. You girls rocked it this year. Congratulations.
So I'd love
Thank
to
you.
invite the council down.
Yeah, we'll come up and take a group picture, but just also want to say, as your mayor, congratulations. I had the opportunity to coach my little girls youth softball in East Sac for 4 or 5 years, and they're now 17, not 11. But I look at these smiles and the medals, and I just remember these days, and only good times ahead for you. And so I wish you the best, and thank you for representing the city of Sacramento.
And I also want to call up Isabel from Senator Ashby's office to join us in the congratulations.
So we now move to our second presentation of the evening. Our second presentation is honoring musician Clement Charles, presented by Councilmember Pleckbaum, Councilmember Maple, and Mayor Pro Tem Guerra.
Thank you. Every year, my office organizes the Pops in the Park concert series. Dave this year picked Clement to perform at McKinley Park. And when we heard the news of Clement's emergency, we reached out to his family to see what we could do to help. His daughter directed us to the GoFundMe page, which I'm happy to report is very, very close to its goal. We shared that with our audience. We reached out to the people in the community, and I hope everyone here will consider contributing a little more, getting us over that finish line there. This is a reminder for everyone to, tell those people in your life that you love and that you appreciate, that you love them every day. And also go out and see a live show. Our musicians, our artists, our small businesses need you to come out, and you'll be amazed just how much joy it brings. We know that joy is something we desperately need, and Clement would agree. With that, I'm going to turn over to Councilmember Guerra and recognize Councilmember Maple wasn't able to be here tonight, but shares these sentiments.
Thank you, Councilmember Pleckbaum, and also thank you to Councilmember Maple, who extends her regrets for not being able to be here today. But today we get to honor Clement Charles' legacy and his musical talent, and also praying and hoping for speedy and healthy recovery. For those who don't know, Clement Charles immigrated to California from Barbados in the 1980s, and he made Sacramento his home as a child. He became, at that time, and then became here one of Sacramento's own lifeblood of music and humanity. And his song, Delta Breeze, is a love letter to our city, created during the pandemic shutdown where many people, including myself and others, felt isolated and alone. He reminded us that during the worst of times, we can look at the Delta, feel the breeze, and be proud of Sacramento and all its beauty. Clement Charles, for more than 3 decades, has served Sacramento with his music, organizing live shows to welcome individuals to the airport, and raising funds for the Middleway Health Foundation, a nonprofit which provides no-cost therapy for those who may not be able to afford it. This is how big of a heart Clement has. Today, as the City Council, we want to recognize him and his family with this resolution here today that will name Delta Breeze as Sacramento's unofficial song here for our city. Clement has touched the lives of many Sacramentans by his music. I know he'll continue to do that. There's just a few comments that I want to share that fans and the community members have submitted. Clement has a big heart and has shared it with our city. He helped to pull me out of isolation and depression. This is what Sacramento is about: to know each other, love each other, and help each other. And on August 20th, I want to encourage folks to join the Clement's family at Wildwood here in Sacramento for a night of music. All proceeds to help the recovery. But first, let me thank Councilmember Steve Hansen and Erica Manuel for the support of the Clement family, and also join me in welcoming here Clement's daughter Dominique here, who will be receiving the resolution on his behalf. But all of us, let's for a big round of recognition for a Sacramentan with a big heart, Clement Charles. Please welcome. Councilmember Steve Hansen.
Thank you, council members. Thank you, Mayor. If you're here for Clement, please stand up for a second. I know there are a lot of people who came just for this. He is so well loved. One of the best things about our community, when somebody like Clement has an accident like this, we step up and we take care of each other. And tonight we're lucky to have Erica Manuel, Tom Cousins, and Clement's daughter, Dominique, to say a few words. And it's a hot day, so there's nothing like a hot day to remember the beauty of the Delta Breeze.
Absolutely.
Erica?
Thank you so much, Steve, and thank you, Council, for this recognition on behalf of Clamone. My name is Erica Manuel. I've been a longtime member of this community as a business leader and as an artist. And I am an artist, and I'm proud to say that because of Clamone Charles. We met at my brother-in-law's wedding, believe it or not, 15 years ago at the Firehouse Restaurant. And when we met, we decided immediately that we would be friends and eventually that we would be family. And I think that day I gained not only a sister-in-law, but I also gained a brother. And I think for many, that's how they feel about Clamone. Clamone has never met a stranger. Everyone he's ever met has felt like he belonged there, they belonged with him, and that they were family. And I think the recognition that you're providing today is a testament to the kind of human being that he is and the commitment that he's given to this community and the benefits he's brought not only to the nonprofits in this community, but also the businesses and the artists and so many causes that matter to the Sacramento region. I think we all know that Clamone is a special human being with an amazing spirit. And one of the things that really brings me joy is knowing that even though he is on the mend, his spirit remains unbroken. And the love that we are showing him today through your generosity and this resolution is, to me, I think, a little bit of mad love that Clamone has so accurately portrayed to all of us when he has shared his gift and brought people together and generated and brought community in times of COVID, before and after. He's a special soul, and I'm so proud to be here as his friend, proud to be here as an honorary member of the family occasionally, and to represent those that could not be here today. I am graciously joined by Tom Cousins, former editor at the Sacramento Bee, and Dominique, who will speak just a couple words about the amazing Clamone.
So I'll make this really quick. I met him about 10 years ago, Clamone. He took me in he'd known me forever. During COVID, we spent literally hundreds of hours talking on the phone. That's where I really got to know him. When my wonderful wife over here, he accepted her in like family, and in fact, he became so close, he performed our wedding on the River City Queen. He became ordained and did our wedding. But more importantly, every time I talk to Clamone, I'm in awe of the people he knows and the people he's crossed paths with and the influence he's had. Not just famous people like city council and governors, but just regular people, artists and such. I'll close with just letting you know we saw him today, and it was typical. He had a big smile, greeted us as we were the only people in the world, and that's Clamone Charles. Thank you for honoring him.
I've met Clamone Charles 32 years ago. I know him to be, as his daughter, loving, kind, generous, and caring to the nth degree. And it's overwhelming to see the love that he's poured out into this community and invests into all of his friends and into his family, reciprocated in such a significant way. So thank you. He's overwhelmed. He is very active on social media, watching everything that's happening, and he's overwhelmed by how supportive and how loving and how generous his people and his community is. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Dominique. Vice Mayor.
And we do have the song teed up if you want to hear 30 seconds, but if you're busy,
Our
it's up
Vice Mayor
to you.
has a few comments
Yeah,
here first.
please.
But yes.
I think former Councilmember Steve Hansen said it best. Sacramento shows up for each other when times get tough. And this is proof of it. Clamone is a beautiful soul. His big smile and his big warm hugs and his amazing talent. He helps make Sacramento, Sacramento. And I just want to wish him a really quick, speedy recovery so we can see him with his guitar playing at gigs at the park, in bars, everywhere, because he is Sacramento. So thank you guys for being here and for my colleagues for presenting this resolution.
Thank you so much. And we invite the family and all his friends to come take a photo with handing the resolution. But as we do that, we're going to play Delta Breeze, the swan song here for Sacramento.
It's going. I don't know how it comes through over there.
But please come on over, everyone, and for Clamone, let's give a big round of applause. We're thinking of you.
Ephraim, please start the music. Ephraim, play the music, please.
artisan murals surely made a mark. The kings and republic, concerts in the park, California's capital, farm to fork, a melting pot of culture, the city we adore. The delta breeze that blows, it soothes our hearts and our souls. See the sun rise in the east, the perfect light that leads you home. The fertile soil here, sunburst autumn leaves, salmon and steelhead, Sacramento, our city of trees. The delta breeze that blows, it soothes our hearts and our souls. See the sun rise in the east, the perfect light that leads you home. The delta breeze that blows, it soothes our hearts and our souls. See the sun rise in the east, the perfect light that leads you home.
So we move to the discussion calendar. Item number 1 is violence prevention and intervention strategies. I do want to, go ahead.
We're going to start this item right now and just want to let the public know that we welcome public participation and commentary during ideas and comments at the end, and also your time to comment on this item. But if you disrupt the meeting, we will proceed with the policies of asking you to leave the council chambers and we will then clear, and you will not be able to come back in. So just want to make sure that people know that if you disrupt this meeting, there will be consequences. We want you to have the opportunity to participate, but please notice that we will be following these rules this evening as well as all council meetings. Thank you. Please begin.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and Madam City Manager Smith. I am Dr. Nicole Clavo with the Office of Violence Prevention, and tonight I will be discussing the practices and the work of Office of Violence Prevention and all that we do. So some of the goals we hope to accomplish tonight is to inform the City Council about OVP's role in Sacramento's violent crime reduction strategy, show how city-funded community organizations extend neighborhood prevention and intervention capacity, highlight measurable gang prevention intervention task force, GPIT, and evidence-based community violence interruption, disruption, suppression, VIDs, partnership results, and the populations reached. Introduce the BSCC CalVIP Cohort 5 Community-Led Intervention and Incident Response Program, including its performance goals and accountability framework. Well, not actually its performance goals because we haven't started. Demonstrate coordinated partnership among the city, law enforcement, school districts, and community organizations. The bridge between public safety and community. OVP coordinates community-based violence prevention and intervention investments. We align with providers to reduce duplication, close service gaps, and focus resources where risk is greatest. We coordinate rapid community response following violent incidents and SPD referrals. Monitor contracts, expenditures, reporting program performance and outcomes. Use data and evaluation to strengthen accountability, and continuously improve strategy. Strategic violence reduction continuum. Prevention is to reduce risk before violence occurs. Intervention, engage people at elevated risk. Incident response, rapid response and retaliation prevention. Stabilization, safety, healing, and recovery. Opportunity, education, employment, long-term support. Accountability, performance, stewardship, and evaluation. The funding sources are and separate requirements. Currently, OVP is funded at $1.4 million for annual Measure U funding, $775,000 in evidence-based community violence intervention, disruption, suppression, VIDs, annual funding, also Measure U. $5 million in the BSCC CalVIP restricted grant, and $87,000 for the BSCC CalVIP mental health. Our awards total approximately $2.175 million in annual funded investment. Keep in mind that $2.175 is just the Measure U funding and it does not encompass the BSCC. CalVIP Cohort 5 is a separate restricted multi-year BSCC grant. It's not a part, as I mentioned, not a part of our annual operating budget. The BSCC mental health funding is a separate and restricted fund that is only can be utilized for mental health. These distinct funding sources should not be combined into one annual budget figure. How CBOs are selected. Eligibility, responsive application and minimum qualifications. So the NOFA will go out. We will publish the NOFA through the City Grants Management System. Applicants are notified through email If they're registered with the city grant management system, they will be notified of the upcoming grants. If they have selected the areas in which violence prevention falls in, they will be notified of all grant applications that they can apply for. They apply. The published criteria in a multi-member review panel is formed. That panel is developed and chosen by Sacramento Police Department as well as the City of Sacramento leadership. OVP does not play a role in who is chosen for the panel. Nor do I sit on that panel. I am not a part of that panel, and I have no process in the panel in the review of the proposals that are submitted. Approval, documented recommendation, and required city approvals. That part is, in order to be approved, the panel submits their scores through the grant management system. They are able to review all of the proposals in that system. They score the proposals, and that is where the CBOs, the community-based organizations, are ranked through the city grant management system. Through that ranking, before we can go into contract, the team at OVP goes through all of the eligibility requirements again. And so we need to make sure the scope of work is there, the budget, reporting, performance requirements if there are previous grantees, as well as we have checks and balances, and we need to be able to check, and we'll get to that in part of the other part of one of the next slides. Program and fiscal review and corrective action and closeout. That is the monitoring section. 2 control gates that occur at different stages. The application and eligibility confirms a responsive application, minimum qualifications, nonprofit status. We check to make sure that they are currently a 501(c), that they have not been suspended by the state of California, to make sure that the Secretary of State, make sure that they, all of their all the documents that are required per the NOFA has been submitted, ensuring that they've completed the application in its entirety. There's times that we may receive a application that is not complete. All of the pages have not been thoroughly finished. And then the pre-contract verification, again, we check for the state and charitable status. We check the city supplier status, that they're enrolled and registered with the city as a supplier, that their business operation tax is in, insurance is valid, and they have an authorized signer as applicable. Outstanding requirements must be resolved before an agreement can be executed. So they have to have completed all of these steps, and they must be in good standing prior to us being able to execute an agreement with them. Structured panel review and scoring. The city and SPD leadership appoints a multi-member panel with relevant experience. Panelists receive scoring instructions and review responsive proposals in the city's grant management system. The published rubric evaluates the proposed approach, organizational capacity, budget, and ability to perform the services. Conflict of interest disclosure and recusal requirements apply. Scores and reviewer rationale support and documented ranking and funding recommendation. Recommendations remain subject to available funding, published requirements, and required city approvals. Structure review reduces but cannot eliminate selection risk. Post-award monitoring accountability through closeout. Agreements establish the approved scope, budget, allowable costs, reporting performance requirements, and records retention obligations. OVP reviews the program activity, the performance data, and the required deliverables throughout the agreement term. For reimbursement-based agreements, fiscal packages require sufficient supporting documentation. Desk reviews, fiscal reconciliation, data quality checks, and site visits help identify compliance or performance concerns. Technical assistance and corrective action address deficiencies. Payments may be withheld or costs disallowed when authorized by the agreement. Final reporting, supporting records, and independent evaluation, when required, complete the accountability cycle. Monitoring identifies and responds to risks. It does not guarantee outcomes. When performance or compliance falls short, the city uses a graduated response based on seriousness of the issue. Provide reasonable notice and first attempt to resolve the issue informally. Add conditions or temporarily withhold payment while a deficiency is corrected. Disallow unsupported or non-compliant costs and withhold further awards. For serious unresolved issues, we suspend or terminate performance, obtain another provider, or consider the findings in renewal and future funding decisions. Bless you. Monitoring turns findings into corrective action. Performance and expenditure reports track services, progress, spending, and allowable costs. Desk reviews, site visits, monitoring, and audits identify gaps in delivery, documentation, data, and controls. Organizations must address findings, correct deficiencies, and maintain records and strengthen internal controls. Renewal requires spending progress, timely reports, and resolution of monitoring and auditing findings. And I've said in a couple of slides about the technical assistance and things of that nature, and just to state that we have established office hours for all of our grantees. And so bi-weekly, they all have been scheduled a day of the week and 1 hour during that day where they can call and ask and sit with the team and ask for assistance, go over their financials, go over anything that they may be missing or any area they may be lacking in. And we sit with their finance person or their president or person in control and explain everything to them. Some of those meetings go well over an hour. We have spent upwards to 8 hours with CBOs just trying to help them fix and get into compliance. Who the partnership is designed to reach? With our Gang Prevention Intervention Task Force, our GPIT is 10 to 24. With our VIDS, it is, which is our intervention, is 13 to 24, and our high-risk gang-involved risk continuum. Youth and young adults exposed to violence, delinquency, gang influence, or justice system involved. Individuals and families needing mentorship, academic support, life skills, workforce pathways, stabilization, and service connection. Priority neighborhoods include Valley High, Del Paso Heights, Meadowview, Oak Park, Fruit Ridge, Lemon Hill, and any other high-need Sacramento areas. Our CBO partners deliver prevention, mentoring, life skills, academic support, positive youth development, intervention, credible messengers, case management, conflict mediation, service connection, opportunity, education, job readiness, employment pathways, leadership development, response, critical incident response, outreach, stabilization, retaliation prevention, healing, trauma-informed support, family engagement, behavioral health connections. In partnership, schools, law enforcement, families, neighborhoods, and community institutions. How the partnership works. We identify the violence trends, the high-risk individuals, the priority neighborhoods. We make a connection through SPD, OVP referrals, outreach, trusted messenger engagement. We intervene, mentoring, case management, disruption, stabilization. We support education, employment, behavioral health, and family resources. We measure reporting outcomes, evaluation, contract accountability. One of the ways that we do measure our outcomes and our evaluation is through our consultant firm, LPC, who meets with the CBOs individually on a monthly basis. Then OVP meets with LPC every third Monday, and we go over the programmatic reports in which they have obtained, which are due on the 15th of every month. So the CBOs are required to have all their data turned in to LPC by the 15th of every month, and then the report goes out after that. The goal is not a collection of independent programs, it is a coordinated violence reduction network. GPIT-funded community partners. Core strategies are mentorship, academic support, life skills, workforce pathways, and stabilization and service connection. And these are a list of our CBOs that are currently funded under GPIT. Our GPIT partnership results, keep in mind this is a 6-month. This is from October 1st, 2025 to March 31st. And so during that time frame, our CBOs served 1,478 youth directly, 4,266 people in support roles receiving direct services, 3,229 people receiving indirect services, 16,428 life skill hours, and 7,812 academic support hours. Youth participants show improved school engagement, workforce readiness, leadership, teamwork, and community connection. CBO-led programming demonstrated strong youth personal development, partnerships, and behavioral leadership gains. Our VIDS community partners, their core strategies are to interrupt violence, stabilize affected individuals and families, and reduce escalation after critical incidents. Again, the dates October 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026. Our VIDS partners engaged in 14 critical incidents, de-escalated and supported. 100 DRIP activations addressed. DRIP activations, that is pre-planned events throughout the city. So if one of the community partners, say if YPSI's having an event or a partner that we may not be funded with, call and say, we're gonna have this pre-planned event. We may have 100+ youth out there. They can call the Office of Violence Prevention and ask, can we have CBOs come out and help and assist and have a presence. It also, for our downtown area, this is part of our DOCO response as well. And so during the summer months, our CBOs are required to report down there Fridays and Saturdays, sometimes Sundays, usually starting from 5 to around midnight or until the sergeant, if there's no action, they will check in with them and let them know that they're leaving. They check in with them when they get there just to let them know. That way, if there's something that jumps off that is out of their control, they have someone to contact. They have a point of contact with PD every night when they're there. Those 100 represent all DOCO activities as well as during the school year, SAC Unified, Ray Lazada will call and say that there's some issues, maybe at Kennedy, maybe at the light rail stations and things of that nature, and we will send CBOs out there to be a part of that. In the Natomas area, we've been working with Shannon and Jarman and in the Natomas Unified area, and we'll also have sent our CBOs out to the Rayleigh's across from Intercom. And so they've gone out there when we had youth acting up and, running into the grocery store and taking things or, being disruptive. And so we will send our teams out there as well. And so there was 115 youth were engaged through proactive outreach with referrals connecting youth to case management, employment assistance, and behavioral health resources. Program outcomes included immediate de-escalation of 14 critical incidents and timely response to 41 DRIP activation requests. So you see 41 DRIP activation because that's kind of the pre-plan broken out from the DOCO. So it was 59 DOCO, 41 of the other pre-plan, which gave us the 100. Our BSCC CalVIP Cohort 5 community-led intervention and incident response. So our start date is still to be determined. We plan to come in front of the council around about, hopefully, September 1st for the 14 NGO partner approval. We are collaborating, as I stated before, with the school districts, SPD, community partners, and the independent evaluator. And OVP's role in that is coordinating the contracts, compliance, performance, evaluation, and continuous improvement. How future BSCC CalVIP CLARE turns a critical incident into coordinated support. Again, we will be utilizing our CBOs on behalf for the school districts. And so tomorrow I will be meeting with Ray Lozada as well as Jarman Leach to solidify the direction in which we will be moving and how they will be contacting us, how they will handle the referral process to our CBOs and what that will look like. The goal is that the school district will handle and design what that outreach will look like between mediating with the families, mediating with the children, and having a presence. So we will respond, engage, stabilize, connect, and improve. Rapid response, we will still be partaking in the rapid response. Post-incident engagement, our goal is to reach 90% of qualifying incidents. Retaliation prevention, again, our target is 25% fewer retaliatory shootings. Participant enrollment, enroll 150 people annually. Retention, retain 75 for 9 months, 75% for the first, within the first 9 months. So our goal is to retain 75% in the first 9 months. And service connections, 80% to 2 services. Services meaning social services, that could be educational services, that could be mental health services, it could be employment services. So any services that could help our youth and move them forward, and young adults. CLARE will build accountability into delivery and learning. The report, program activity, and expenditure reports, again, are due by the 15th of the month. Now that is the CBO's due date to the Office of Violence Prevention. The Office of Violence Prevention will be reporting on a quarterly basis. Their financial expenditures will be due to us on a monthly basis, as well as by the 15th or the 20th of the month. And then we will report to BSCC quarterly. We will align our partners, join monthly coordination and technical assistance. We will complete desk reviews, data checks, and site visits. Our evaluator would do an independent evaluation, track outcomes, equity, and learning. This grant as well will have an independent evaluator who will be hired to meet with the CBOs on a monthly basis, receive the programmatic reports, and go over any of the information that is needed to go to improve, which is the quarterly dashboards, turn findings into improvement. And the quarterly dashboards are set up by BSCC. So that information will be submitted quarterly to BSCC as well, but we will be collecting it on a monthly basis. Measuring what matters. Who? Are we reaching people at greatest risk? Where are resources concentrated where violence occurs? What intervention was actually delivered? Result, what changed for the participant or the family? Impact, did the intervention reduce risk, retaliation, or repeat victimization? What OVP can measure and what it cannot claim. Reach, participants reach, retained and connected services. We can claim contracted services, reporting and supporting documentation. We can verify that. We can track conflicts addressed, engagement activity, and violent trends over time. We can limit one intervention. One intervention cannot significantly prove that a shooting was prevented. Evaluation, independent evaluation assesses contribution, outcomes, and impact. How does OVP define success? Reduce retaliatory violence and repeat violent victimization. High-risk participants engaged and retained in services. Timely community response following violent incidents. Successful connections to employment, education, behavioral health, and stabilization resources. Participant disengagement from violent activity and stronger protective factors. Provider performance, documentation, fiscal stewardship, and contractual compliance. Evidence of effectiveness through independent evaluation and data-informed improvement. What OVP is strengthening next? Strategy, coordinated violence reduction plan, monitoring, standardized reviews and site visits, measures, clearer outputs and outcomes, data, stronger participant and incident information, independent analysis and continuous improvement, transparent dashboards and summaries. The value of community partnership. Community partners bring lived experience, neighborhood credibility, cultural responsiveness, and sustained relationships. OVP provides the coordination, public accountability, performance expectations, and connection to city systems. Together, the model complements, not replaces, law enforcement and strengthens Sacramento continuum of public safety. And that is the end of my presentation. Yes, we do.
And we'll get to questions from council members. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. My name is Julie Guerin, and I am the Interim Program Manager for the Youth Development Administration. Today, I'll be presenting on the Youth Development Administration's support of violence prevention efforts. So a little bit about who we are. The Youth Development Administration is charged with promoting the city's strategic vision for citywide youth development in accord with the youth plan. Our core function is distributing funds to community-based organizations, stewarding the youth plan, and applying resources towards young people in the greatest need. YDA also houses the Sacramento Children's Fund, a separate voter-approved citywide program with its own strategic investment plan and oversight commission. What we do. Currently, YDA funds a grant portfolio of over $30 million across these 8 main focus areas: youth academic performance, youth violence prevention, mental health and well-being, reduced marijuana substance use, workforce development, early childhood development, homelessness among youth and children, and youth transitioning out of foster care. Diving a little deeper, YDA's grant portfolio consists of the following 6 grant programs: Sacramento Children's Fund, Sacktown Youth Nights, Sac Youth Work Futures, Organizational Resiliency Fund, and the Ann Land and Bertha Henschel Memorial Fund. This slide outlines their funding source, amount, and expiration date, but the most notable programs for this presentation would be those focusing on violence prevention, which would be the Sacramento Children's Fund and Sacktown Youth Nights. Just a quick note on the funding for those. Measure L is a perpetual funding source with no sunset date. The Sacramento Children's Fund has awarded $25.8 million to date, with a second round of funding slated to be released in spring 2027. The STIN funding ends January 31st, 2027. Okay, grant management and oversight. YDA's goal is that every grant dollar reaches young people through a competitive, transparent process, and that YDA can showcase our results to the community who invested in it. YDA has a multi-step process for awarding funding based on the standards set forth in the citywide grant and procurement policies. Every grant program starts with a design and equity review that outlines the goals and parameters of the funding. Next is a solicitation and award process, which follows current best practices and the citywide grant policy, and includes application periods of at least 30 days, multidisciplinary review panels that reflect Sacramento's diversity, conflict of interest review and anti-bias training for panelists, and applications are vetted through a 2-step merit review process, and all required documentation is collected pre-award. Risk and contract compliance. Awards of more than $50,000 undergo a grantee risk assessment, and our agreements include a grantee compliance exhibit that outlines the contractual obligations and default and cure processes for if grantees are found to be out of compliance. YDA also built in grantee performance review for multi-year contracts, which means that after the initial term of a contract, we pause, review the fiscal and programmatic performance of the grantee before initiating the subsequent terms of the contract. This allows staff to cure any issues with grantees and provide another touch point for technical assistance. It should be noted that a couple of these grantee management and oversight policies were added after the Sacramento Children's Fund implementation, including this contract compliance exhibit that we worked with city attorney and city manager to build out. Grantees then submit programmatic and fiscal reports each quarter, and every invoice is reviewed receipt by receipt. Sometimes we get packets of 900 pages long, and it takes a while. We review these invoices against the scope of work and budget and the signed agreements. Payments clear multi-department review before dollars are issued. And the quarterly and programmatic reports collected are the basis for every number that you will see outlined in the following slides. And then, cumulative results are collected, analyzed, and presented to the public, and all of our reporting can be found on our website. And just a note beyond compliance, the Youth Development Plan asks for more of us than just compliance. So alongside the paper process, we size our awards to the organizational capacity or the size of the grantees. We provide technical assistance so smaller, community-rooted organizations can compete. We prioritize the neighborhoods in the youth plan and the strategic investment plan identified as the highest need. And we engage in listening sessions, surveys, and public meetings to help shape our grant making. YDA follows the citywide grant policy and sits on its steering committee. Okay, diving into our violence prevention efforts. YDA currently supports violence prevention through 2 grant programs, the Sacramento Children's Fund and Sacktown Youth Nights.
The Sacramento Children's Fund awarded $881,326 to 3 organizations that provide violence prevention programming through December 2028. Sacktown Youth Nights awarded a $1.3 million in 2026 to organizations to provide safe, supervised places for young people to be on weekend nights. The next round of Sacramento Children's funding is slated to be released in spring 2027 and encompasses an estimated $14 million over a 2-year grant period for all 5 fund goals. Sacktown Youth Nights is our most visible violence prevention program. Since 2019, the city has invested approximately $4.7 million in community-based organizations to run youth-led weekend events in priority neighborhoods, safe, supervised places to be on Friday and Saturday nights. The current STIN portfolio includes 24 community-based organizations and has reached over 8,000 youth to date. These are touchpoint pop-up events ranging from bowling nights, roller skating, Halloween events, and they are more than just parties. Some pop-ups include resume building and interview preparation. Some organizations work with youth on college application and run drives to raise resources for young people heading to college. And in one example, Greater Sacramento Urban League maintains a closet of professional clothes youth can take for interviews. Listed on this slide is the current 2026 STIN grantees. There's 24 of them. All right. The Sacramento Children's Fund is a voter-approved dedicated stream of funding serving children and youth under 25 years of age. And this is a separate citywide program administered by YDA. I know council's all familiar with this, but quickly I'll just say that the Sacramento Children's Fund has 5 fund goal areas. Number 1, prevent and reduce youth violence. I should also note these are not ranked. They all take equal measure. Prevent and reduce youth violence, improve mental health and emotional well-being, prevent and reduce youth substance abuse, reduce homelessness among children and youth, and early childhood development ages 0 to 5. The council adopted strategic investment plan also set aside a 20% of the 5-year funding for a guaranteed basic income program for transitional age foster youth, and that was an $8 million award. And as you can see on this slide, violence prevention received 3.4% of the $25.8 million awarded to date. And on this slide, you have all 24 of the Sacramento Children's Fund awards by fund goal, and then the Transitional Age Foster Youth Award, which was awarded to United Way California Capital Region to administer the GBI program. Okay, so I would like to now just go into some of the Sacramento Children's Fund violence prevention grants. Roberts Family Development Center received the majority of the funding with a $731,000 award. And additionally, we did fund 2 smaller CBOs, Communication and Education Org for Development and Code for Hood EDU for $75,000 each. So who we reached. With those 3 smaller grants, we reached 1,721 unduplicated youth served. You can see the breakdown on this slide, the majority of those being Roberts Family Development Center, who received the larger grant amount, and the concentration of the location of those services, again, fell in Roberts Family Development Center, Del Paso Heights. Code for Hood almost works exclusively in Oak Park, and then CEOD serves a dispersed Afghan community across Sacramento. And we also have here listed what we collect on a quarterly basis, which is barriers reported across all 3 grantees, or what are commonly known as risk factors. So almost all of the participants were noted as low-income children, youth, or families. 170 children and youth with disabilities. 137 were noted as first-generation immigrants or refugees, and on throughout the barriers. You can see quarterly we collect these through reporting. I'll briefly go over this slide, but I just wanted to give you zoom out and say this is what we've collected so far for the entire SCF Open Grants portfolio. So we've served over 9,000 unduplicated participants. Over 4,000 of those participants are 5 and under, driven by the early childhood literacy and wellness visit programs, with another 3,500 between the ages of 6 and 12. Additionally, 9 out of 10 SCF participants were identified as low income. So just quickly a note that participants may appear in more than one category. So they might be low income and also first generation immigrants or refugees. So the totals will not necessarily match the unduplicated participants because they could qualify for more than one category. Finally, a word on the evaluation of the Sacramento Children's Fund, what we know so far and where we are going. On the left are the overarching performance measures outlined in the Sacramento Children's Fund Strategic Investment Plan and collected through reporting, with totals cumulative through Q4. You will see indicators listed here that tie to all 5 of our fund goals. Those are reported on a quarterly basis by SCF grantees that collect individual level data from participants. These indicators feed directly into the long-term outcomes measured over time. Measure L is intended to produce population-level impact by reducing poverty, trauma, and violence for Sacramento youth. We know that takes time and investment. We hope to move the needle on the following long-term outcomes listed on this slide. Children and youth succeed at school, develop 21st century schools, and violence prevention, youth report feeling safer and connected to a trusted adult. Upcoming reporting and evaluation for City Council to look out for: annual service performance reports, a year 3 evaluation report including grantee outcomes to date, and a 5-year youth impact evaluation report that analyzes the impact of the fund for the first 5 years. We have a real opportunity here to measure long-term impact with a perpetual funding stream, which is pretty exciting. So 5, 10, 15 years down the line, we might be able to show the real impact that we've made with this dedicated funding. Finally, to close, I'd like to close with the goal and vision of the youth plan, that all Sacramento children and youth are valued and reach their full potential. So that's the driving force behind this work. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll have a number of questions and comments from the council, but we'll start now with public comment. We have about 20 or so speakers in person and a couple on the phone.
Yes, I have 19 speakers in chambers and 2 on the phone. The first is Corey Jackson, then Shelley Hudson, then Cheryl Davis, Catherine O'Morda. So Corey, then Shelley, then Cheryl.
Beautiful. Thank you. Oh, great. Of course. Okay. Let me get to the top of this. This is really great. Okay, good evening. My name is Corey D. Jackson. I want to bring a different perspective to this conversation. Public-private partnerships. When government resources are limited, and they're especially limited during difficult fiscal times, nonprofits cannot depend on government to fund everything. Scarcity creates a competition, and competition becomes personal. People start fighting over who got funded, who didn't, who should be removed, and who should replace them. I believe there's another way. I've worked with Dr. Clavo and OVP over the years, and Dr. Clavo has my support. I watched her work thoughtfully to build bridges between community, government, and violence prevention. Those relationships can become a platform that attracts private resources instead of putting the entire financial burden on taxpayers. Let me give you a real example. Impact SAC receives a grant funding through the City Office of Violence Prevention. This summer, Impact SAC provided young people with tickets to City's Golden One Center Suite during the California Classic. But the opportunity didn't end with sitting in a suite watching basketball. Through a public-private partnership involving Impact SAC, U+1 Agency, the 916 Hollywood, Mike Bibby, Legacy, and Content Kings, we use that access as a launching point into something bigger. Content Kings is a private Hollywood-based media company with relationships with NBA Summer League, stepped up and covered flights, lodging, local transportation, and a $250 per diem for each young people from Sacramento to travel to Las Vegas. That included 2 Sacramento State students and 1 senior, another entering his sophomore year, who helps lead media content for Sacramento State's men's basketball, and a recent high school graduated who is connected to Impact SAC, who plans to attend Sacramento State. Those young people went from...
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Shelley Hudson, then Cheryl Davis. Thank you for your comments. Shelley.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Shelley Hudson. I'm a former 25-year employee of the Sacramento Police Department and a longtime gun violence prevention volunteer with Moms Demand Action and now NorCal Gun Violence Prevention. I'm here because recent Sacramento Bee reporting regarding the Office of Violence Prevention raises serious concerns about accountability and oversight. If that reporting is accurate, the public deserves answers. During my 25 years with the police department, employees were expected to follow general orders, department policies, and strict rules governing ethics, spending, and reimbursements. Accountability was not optional. Those standards protected the integrity of the department and the public's trust. I respectfully urge the City Council to order an independent audit of all Office of Violence Prevention grants and contracts, including its financial practices and compliance with applicable requirements. The findings should be made public, and any necessary corrective action should be implemented promptly. The police department's role is clear: enforcement, investigation, and public safety. But violence prevention is a different kind of work. It depends on community relationships, credibility, trust, and the ability to reach young people and communities that may not view law enforcement as a trusted partner. I also urge the council to restore the Office of Violence Prevention as an independent office, separate from the police department. Violence prevention requires community trust, and an independent office can better rebuild that trust. OVP exists to save lives and strengthen our community. Transparency, independent review, and responsible stewardship of public funds are not obstacles to violence prevention. They are essential to building the credibility and public trust needed for this work to succeed. Thank you for your time and your service to Sacramento.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Cheryl Davis, then Catherine O'Morda.
Good evening, Mayor McCarty and council members. My name is Cheryl Davis, and I too have been an active volunteer in Moms Demand Action for many years. And I want to begin by thanking Mayor McCarty for co-authoring Assembly Bill 28, and I was going to call you Supervisor Councilmember Dickinson for supporting it, which increased statewide funding for violence intervention 5-fold in 1 year. And Sacramento this year received $5 million in that funding, but I have some concerns. Sacramento is at a critical crossroads. We know violence is preventable when we treat it as a public health crisis, not a criminal inevitability. We could look to successful models in the cities in California and across the nation, but we just need to look right here at home because Sacramento has proven that works. When the Office of Violence Prevention operated under the city manager, Sacramento achieved something historic. In 2018 and 2019, not a single teenager in our city was killed by homicide. That milestone was the direct result of credible mentors, intervention teams, and trauma-informed care working together as a unified ecosystem. But when the city moved OVP under the police department, that shift broke trust with the very youth these programs are supposed to reach. Recent reporting in the Sacramento Bee documented serious oversight failures, nonprofits receiving millions while delinquent with the Attorney General, undocumented gift card spending, payments to family members, missing receipts, and contracts intentionally structured to avoid your review by just shorting it by $1. These are not small administrative mistakes, in my opinion. They are systematic failures that undermine public trust and jeopardize the future of violence prevention funding, such as CalVIP for Sacramento. These are violence prevention dollars and meant to save lives. I'm asking that you restore what worked. I'm respectfully requesting that you conduct a comprehensive financial and contract compliance review so the public can see how violence prevention.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Catherine O'Morda, Amy Serafan, then Tammy Shaw.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. My name is Catherine O'Morda. I'm here as a community member and a volunteer with NorCal Gun Violence Prevention. Violence prevention programs protect lives and give communities hope. They must be grounded in transparency, integrity, and accountability. When those standards fail, public trust and the communities these programs serve suffer. As a NorCal Gun Violence Prevention volunteer, I respectfully urge the City Council to conduct an independent review of the Office of Violence Prevention, including its leadership, financial practices, grant compliance, and city oversight. If the allegations are confirmed, I believe the City Council should consider a vote of no confidence and mandate appropriate corrective action. Sacramento families deserve a violence prevention program they can trust. I urge the City Council to act with urgency, compassion, and accountability. Thank you very much for your leadership.
Our next speaker is Amy Serafan, then Tammy Shaw, then Paris Dye.
Good evening. My name is Amy Seropian. I'm a longtime volunteer for gun violence prevention. In order to save you time tonight, I'm just going to say I agree with and support the comments made by the other 3 gun violence prevention advocates. And thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Tammy Shaw, then Paris Dye, then Milo M.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Shaw. I'm also a longtime volunteer with Moms Demand Action. In order to save time, I fully support the 3 to 4 people that were right in front of me for gun violence prevention, their advocates' comments. Thank you so much for your leadership in considering this. Thank you.
Paris Dye, then Milo M., then Matthew Forrest.
Hi, my name is Paris Dye. I'm the Executive Director of Impact SAC. Many of you have seen David. David, raise your hand. That's my family member that has received money from Impact SAC. He has been with Impact SAC since he was 14 years old. He worked for the first 5 years and free, no money, and he became, in the year when he got $9,000, that was him working minimum wage several hours. So I'm very proud of the work that we do here to celebrate us, celebrate our youth. Our mission is to connect people to power, more specifically young people, connecting them to the power of their voices so that they can become the best advocates for themselves, their peers, and their community. So we come often and we come with different youth every time so that you can see that we do work and we do put in the work. The suites at Sacramento, Golden One, I would love for more opportunities to go. I will never apologize for using the suite. I'll never apologize for being aggressive, for asking. I've told people all the time, all you got to do is apply, check the box that says you can fill the suite, and then fill it. Chris Brown was an amazing concert. They gave me 25 tickets, and I used the Sacktown Youth Night funding to buy another 25 tickets at full price. My kids sit in the suite, and they sit at the floor. They go back and forth with the adults switching tickets. That's how it's been working for years for us, and it's provided amazing opportunities, like our teens getting to go making their way all the way to Las Vegas. So I will never apologize for being aggressive. I'm well known in this community for not accepting no for an answer if it's something that I believe our youth should use. For those 2 years that the city went without any homicides in the Sacramento city, that was not Advanced Peace by themselves. That was a lot of organizations that were out here with our boots on the ground. Black Child Legacy was formed. I was there at the beginning of that also. There's a whole lot of secrets, a whole lot of lies being told to you, mistruths. Some are.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Milo M., then Matthew Forrest.
Good evening, Council. I'm Milo. I'm a mentor with Impact SAC. For the last 6 months, I've worked with this community, and I have seen the improvement in safety, mental health, and the most important, violence prevention. Before I got involved in Impact SAC, I was in a rough place, some of which include being placed in facilities, juvenile hall, and residentials. I also had several suicidal attempts, violence, and substance abuse, and currently I am experiencing homelessness. Impact SAC has supported me through all the highs and lows, as they help me by providing a safe environment with support, food, essentials, and understanding. They have taught everyone within this program to become the better versions of themselves. They care about our safety, futures, lives, and more importantly, our voices. We are heard within this community. Paris Dye and the rest of Impact SAC shows up and shows out for us, and we are here in support, showing up for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Matthew Forrest, then Dennis Mixon.
Hello, council members. My name is Matthew Forrest. I've been involved in Impact SAC for about a month or two now, and my experience within this community has been amazing. The individuals who run this program are very kind, caring, and respectful. There's a lot of diversity and representation all throughout this program, which is one of the main things needed within a community to prevent violence. Hate crimes and violence can be created by lack of acknowledgement and misunderstood information. That's why Impact SAC is important, as youth and young adults are brought together to learn and respect each other. Even if someone doesn't understand or agree with another individual's values, religion, sexuality, race, and or ethnicity, that doesn't call for any type of violence. That is why we are all here today to speak out about anti-violence and the work within the community that the team of Impact SAC and Paris Dye have done. As we glance around each other, every single person has their own story, which isn't just simply told by looking at them. That's why everyone should get involved in their community, to open their minds and take away the intense fear of the unknown. We can't stop the diversity around us, but we can welcome it and stop the spread of violence in the process. Everyone is human, and they deserve a chance, no matter the color of their skin, identity, or sexual orientation. Stop violence and give a chance. One simple moment can change an entire person's perspective. Thank you.
Next speaker is Dennis Mixon, then Akai Ramirez.
Hello, my name is Dennis Mixon, and I was born in Sacramento, California. I grew up on a violent side of Sacramento, of fighting, street gang activities, and the whole 10. I used to fight on a daily basis, every time, every day, until I moved to the north side of Sacramento, where I was uncomfortable with because I'd never been out there. And I lived out there for a while, and I've been going to the same school for all my life. So I went to Foothill, got in more trouble there until I ran into Impact SAC. That changed the person who I am as a leader, as a black man, and as a person. And I learned how to become a good kid, staying out of trouble, learning how to become what I wanted to become, and trying to become a comedian. And now that I posted my first video and it's reached the milestone because of Impact SAC, told me to be confident, told me to love people, told me to be the person that I should have been a long time ago. You know, staying out of trouble is the best way, the good way. And that's me, Dennis Mason.
Next speaker is Akai Ramirez, then Kenneth Andrews, then Kevin Bolts.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Aki Ramirez. I am 17 years old, and I am a current foster youth, and also a person who goes to Sacramento, Impact Sacramento. and also a California Youth Connection advocate for current and former foster youth. My experiences with violence goes down as much as younger me as a child, witnessing violence when I was in my home, and as now as a foster youth, witnessing violence in group homes, residentials, and many more. And other youth, I have experiences, and because as an advocate of my own, I have witnessed and also have spoke with people who has been in prison, or not in prison, but in juvenile detention centers, working with them, and also that leading up to homelessness or death. Because the thing is, if we have these, if we have like violence into like youth and in foster care, they will go into homelessness. And I feel like with the prevention, like violence prevention will help a lot about it, because it has helped our community from our marginalized groups, our vulnerable groups, and also our backgrounds as minorities, because we face a lot of discrimination. For me as a youth, for me as being queer, and because me being a foster youth, we all come here for many things. We all come from backgrounds. We all come from different stories of our lives, I would say. And Impact SAC has helped a lot of people I could see, and will help people more in the future. Thank you so much, City Council.
Next speaker is Kenneth Andrews, then Kevin Bolts. I have 10 more speakers, Kenneth, and then Kevin Bolts.
Hello. I want to speak about something that I believe deserves serious consideration. The decision to house the Sacramento Office of Violence Prevention in the police department. So I want to be clear, this is not about disrespecting or bringing bad light upon law enforcement. The important work that the officers do is needed. This is about recognizing that violence prevention and law enforcement are not the same thing, and the communities most affected by violence need to have confidence that both roles can operate independently. The Office of Violence Prevention is supposed to build relationships with young people, families, community organizations, violence interrupters, and people who may not feel comfortable interacting with law enforcement. That trust is one of the most important tools we have in preventing violence. When the office is housed within the police department, it can create a perception or even the concern that community-based violence prevention is ultimately being directed through law enforcement. That concern becomes more important in light of the recent reporting in the Sacramento Bee concerning corruption and accountability in the Sacramento, and the broader need for transparency in public institutions. I'm not saying that everyone involved is corrupt. I'm saying that government should not wait until trust is lost before it creates safeguards to protect that trust. If Sacramento is serious about violence prevention, then we should consider an independent structure for the Office of Violence Prevention, one that allows community leaders, violence prevention organizations, youth advocates, and residents to have a meaningful voice in how these resources are distributed and how programs are evaluated. We need transparency in funding. We need independent oversight. We need clear accountability, and most importantly, we need a structure where young people and communities can seek help without feeling that every conversation is connected to law enforcement. Violence prevention should be built on trust, relationships, prevention, and community investment. My concern is simple. If we want the community to trust violence prevention, then the structure over.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Kevin Bolts, then Zion Tatis.
Good evening. I speak to you tonight as someone who holds a degree in behavioral psychology, someone who works as a criminal defense paralegal, and someone who works for a nonprofit that gets lifers out of prison with alternatives to violence programming from Attica. And the one thing I can tell you in 2 words about this program is it works. It's worked in Richmond for 10 or 15 years since they started it and become a nationwide example for what to do. It's worked in Sacramento, frankly. A few weeks, last time we had a meeting, because there was no business last week, of course, a gentleman here complained about the accountability around this program and the finances. And I informed him that the 12.6% reduction in violent crime in Sacramento is the accountability. It is the works. As the good doctor pointed out in her presentation, we have measurable things. In analytical science, we love what's called observable, measurable, and graphable data. And I guarantee you she's got a million fucking graphs over there and can tell you exactly what's happened in the city and what neighborhood, and that it works. Another reason I can speak on this with expertise is I work as a substitute teacher, and I've worked in all those neighborhoods that were listed, mostly for Fortune Charter School. And if I had to guess there's a school district that you all live the furthest from, it's probably Fortune. I had a kid down in South Sac where the Fortune's in the Little Saigon, which I love to work at because you're basically in an Asian mall full of food and boba. And he one time was just emotional, which happens when you're 12 and black in America. And I asked him what was wrong. And he told me that I was the only white man in his life who listens to him. And when I asked him, are all the other white men in your life police officers? He said basically, yeah. And that's why this needs to not be part of the police department. It needs to be part of a separate OVP. And much like what we've talked about before, these children need to be safe, not tracked, monitored, and sold to the feds. So figure it out.
Next speaker is Zion Caddis. Following Zion is Mary Duplay, then Anita Razzo, then Julius Thibodeau.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for having me. So for me, I have to be organic, in who I am. So what the problem I have is $30 million a year into our youth. Where is it? Well, do you see it being packed, this place, the kids that benefited from that $30 million? So what I have is, the problem I have is, you mentioned 30 million, 5 million, but what is the results? Only 1 or 2% of it goes to our community. Every money is going to administration pay. That goes every time. Where is it? The results, we need to show the statistics. We need to show the ratio, how the black community is benefiting from the money that you guys invested. And you only show us 1 or 2% of the people who benefit, but 80, 90% of it, where is the money? Where do we see? We don't see any. We're still, violence is still in our community, still high. We have lack of education, lack of opportunity. You're not investing in the root of the problem. You're investing, in fact, into the people who are actually privileged and entitled. So I really need to see, for me to really trust that the city is really investing in the youth, I need to see the ratio and I need to see the statistics, how much that money is going to our community, which is 90% of our community is still underserved, underrepresented, and it's not going to them. So where is it? Is it on the city? Where is the statistic that shows all this $30 million a year? I don't think even $1 million of it goes to our youth. And, my daughter, she was a good friend of JJ. She buried her, she was only 17. After that, she buried around 5, 6 of her friends, and she's only 24, and that's not acceptable. So I don't see any prevention. In fact, it's getting worse. So I need some.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Mary Duplay, then Anita Razzo, then Julius.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your time. As a gun violence survivor, and by the way, my name is Mary Duplaw. As a gun violence survivor, my daughter, Lorna Clark, was shot and killed by her ex-boyfriend. She was only 19 years old. As a longtime volunteer with Moms Demand Action, as an Everytown Survivor Fellow, now as a founding member of NorCal GVP, I am here to express my deep concern regarding the recent Sacramento Bee reporting on the Sacramento OVP. I am committed to survivors, victims, impacted families here in the greater Sacramento area, especially the children in our communities that are hardest hit by gun violence. As a GVP advocate, I was appalled by what I read in the SAC-B article. Even more than that, as a gun violence survivor, I was deeply saddened and heartsick when I read of the lack of oversight, lack of transparency, lack of integrity, and lack of ethical management of public funds to nonprofits within the OVP outlined in the SAC-B article. Yesterday, I picked up my friend Paula from her neighborhood, and we drove through the neighborhood, and she showed me where she lived when her 3-year-old daughter, Azalea, was shot and killed by young men driving through the neighborhood, randomly shooting and showing their disregard for human life. There were bullet holes in the mailboxes, in the front doors of the homes. We need a reminder that most of the CBOs are trying to guide the young ones in these neighborhoods before teenage and older shooters convince them that their criminal way of life is the way to go. Perhaps everyone needs a field trip as a reminder of why we do this work, why OVP was formed, and why the integrity of that office should be first and foremost. And I support what my fellow advocates.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Anita, then Julius.
Thank you, council members. My name is Anita Razzo. I am the founder of the DJ Geo Foundation and mother of DJ Geo. I'm a volunteer with Moms Demand Action and with Survivors Speak, a board member of the San Joaquin County Victims of Violent Crimes, a board member of the Luis G. Alvarez Rewards for Justice, a volunteer of Parents of Murdered Children, LA chapter. I am also a volunteer community advocate as a first responder, homicide support with Don't Shoot Our Future Down, and I provide support to impacted families. My son, Giovanni Pisano, paid the ultimate price in a cycle of gun violence. He was ambushed, robbed, and murdered in North Natomas in April of 22, just 10 days after his birthday, in an affluent area of Sacramento where these crimes should not happen. As an impacted mother, I was pushed into action by the murder of my son, and in spite of the soul-crushing pain I go through every single day, I am driven to stop all the violence and to do what I can to prevent another mother from feeling the same everyday heartache I do. I urge you to help win this fight by funding crime prevention initiatives and violence prevention programs. Every day a youth falls victim to violence. Violence is taking too many of our youth and young adults in our city. You have the power to prioritize funding for programs that are doing the work and to create violence prevention measures for youth. I'm here today to advocate and support all violence prevention and to advocate to stop the violence that is killing our children. I volunteer and donate time, energy, effort, and use my own resources to support gun violence prevention. Currently, through the DJ Geo Foundation, we carry on with the DJ Geo's legacy by providing DJ training to at-risk youth and young adults in hopes that it will keep them off the streets and away from all violence as it did for my son Giovanni. Please place more focus on music and arts programs that have violence prevention programs in place. The DJ Geo Foundation can reach more at-risk youth and do much more to mentor and
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Julius, then Cynthia Shallett.
Good evening. My name is Julius Thibodeau Hassan, former program manager for Advanced Peace, current executive director for Movement for Life. I want to talk about what was placed up here today. What I see is a heavy investment in prevention. Some of the charts, you can look at your own data and see why things aren't working. Heavy investment in the North. One of the things that I know, if you're dealing with cyclical and a retaliatory gun violence, then you have to have a unified message to all groups. You can't tell the North that we're going to fund you and we're going to take you here and you're serving one group of individuals, and then the South is like, well, what about us? Because that's what I saw. And you also can't go to communities and say that we're going, and the motto, and here's the thing, I probably will never achieve as much as the great Frederick Douglass did, but to send that message that it's easier to build strong children than it is to rebuild broken men. I'm in the business of rebuilding broken men. Broken men have the most influence over these young people. You don't. The police most certainly don't. Broken men, once you fix them and you don't discard them, you don't throw them away like trash, or you don't come to their communities and say, F you, and you don't have to literally say it. If you say we're only dealing with the youth, let's get to the youth, let's get to the young people. You giving them the middle finger. And what do you think they're going to do? They're going to retaliate by showing you that we have more power and influence over these youth. I want to close by saying this. Look at Old Sac. Look at Doko. My Vang, Rick Jennings, you all have been here. You know what success looks like down there.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Cynthia Shallett. More speakers. Cynthia, then James. Cynthia Shallett, James Deems, then Brian Powers.
Good evening. I'm Cynthia Shallett, and I'm a volunteer with Moms Demand Action. And I remember way back when, too, when we went to the state legislature and we tried to get money from the CalVIP program. And it was really difficult at that time to get any money at all for these kinds of crime prevention programs, gun violence prevention programs. And actually, I know you're hearing about a lot of problems here today, but I just have to say I'm really impressed that we have these programs and they're doing so well, and the community really does value them overall. That doesn't mean that things can't be improved and can't be fixed. So if there is some truth to the Sacramento Bee article about misuse of funds, I hope that you'll look at that more closely and make the program stronger. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is James Deems, then Brian Powers. James. Following James is Brian Powers, then Deborah Grimes.
I thought I was going to have a crowd behind me, but I guess everybody's sitting down. Hello, my name is James Demas. I work with Impact SAC as a mentor and a program manager. First thing I want to say, don't believe everything you read in the newspaper. Sometimes that can be a little skewed. But what we do at Impact SAC, like you saw some of our youth come up and talk today, I deal in creativity. So with that being said, you see David over here, you see Derek over here, and then Dennis that's sitting down still, didn't want to come up. We deal in a creative space, and I feel like a young person who has a safe space to create, a mentor who listens, and a community that believes in their potential has a different path. Instead of responding to conflict with anger, they turn their experience into photography, filmmaking, storytelling. Young people need adults that show up consistently, encourage them, hold them accountable, and help them imagine a future beyond the circumstances that are around them. Prevention is not simply just telling the youth not to do something, it's giving them meaningful things to do, and someone who believes that they can succeed. As a Sacramento council member said, we should invest in resources that actually prevent violence. When I have my youth in our programs, I can tell you for a fact they are not violent. And that is going for any youth that come into our program. We keep our programs violent-free, inclusive. We show that we care. We show that we're seeing them. And when it comes to photography, every photograph has a story behind it, and every young person does as well. Our responsibility is to make sure these young people have the tools, mentors, and opportunities to tell the stories through creativity rather than violence.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Brian Powers via telephone. Brian Powers.
Brian Powers, yes, thank you. Violence prevention is clearly important, and I do not enjoy criticizing OVP or the CBOs it funds, but there are problems that need to be addressed. It's been 3.5 weeks since the first article in the Bee reported failures that were admitted by 2 CBOs to file tax documents and to properly register with the state agencies. For years, they were not in good standing. In addition, the article's alleged failures to document expenses, filing of false revenue reports to the IRS, and potentially unethical payments to family members and others from grant money. I hope these allegations are not true, but an independent audit is necessary and needs to be done. Let's find out. Despite the fact that the OVP report was apparently just submitted yesterday to the council, and I say this because Ms. Talamantes' office sent it to me at about 6:15 last evening, and now it's been 3.5 weeks since the allegations surfaced, none of those admissions and allegations are covered in the OVP report this evening. They need to be. As I said, an audit is necessary, and it should be an independent audit. As As Dr. Clavo said, the report does contain a section on specific details of how CBOs are selected and held accountable. It appears that none of those principles were followed. The OVP report lacks specifics on the work the CBOs have done, and a much more detailed report should be required. And I will say I've heard more in the way of detail this evening from the oral report. But tonight, you need to begin asking specific, detailed questions about these issues and authorize an audit. If you don't do those things, you're not doing your job. Thank you.
Deborah Grimes is our final speaker on this item. Deborah.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager, Dr. Clavo. My name is Deborah Grimes, and also City Council. I'm hospitalized, so I'm phoning it in tonight. I emailed our coalition's full proposal to each of you today, and tonight I'm speaking with you regarding the future of public safety and a critical role of the Office of Violence Prevention. Recent coverage, including the investigation reported by the Sacramento Bee, has allegedly rightly raised serious questions about financial oversight and accountability within grant distributions for violence prevention efforts. If even one allegation is true, then that is unacceptable. Misappropriation, if it exists, or lack of oversight, does a disservice to taxpayers. But more importantly, it undermines the life-saving work needed in our neighborhoods. However, the response to these findings must be a call to rebuild with absolute transparency and clear structural standards. True community safety does not rely on isolated grants to standalone organizations. It requires a connected, accountable intervention ecosystem. An ecosystem approach means clear oversight and auditing. It means coordinated support, bringing together credible messengers, trauma-informed mental health services, work development, schools, and then a continuous continuum of care, ensuring a young person isn't just reached during a crisis, but supported all the way through housing, education, and employment stability. When we lack an ecosystem, funding gets fragmented, oversight fails, and our communities pay the price. When we build a structured system, community-based violence...
Mayor, that concludes the public comment for this agenda item.
Okay, thank you. We'll go now to council members. Start with Vice Mayor Talamantes.
I just want to thank all the speakers who came out here this evening. I know it's not easy for you to share your personal stories that come with so much pain. And you're using this experience, this life experience, to make Sacramento and to make the world a better place. And that takes a lot of bravery to come up to the podium and share your stories. So I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for being here. I do have a quick question for, I don't know if it's like YPSI and probably Office of Violence Prevention. How often do the two departments work together and communicate together on the programs that we currently have in place?
During contract season, I've reached out to YPSI to see if there is supplanting, if we are funding the same organizations, just to see what we are funding each organization for, to make sure that we have that accountability practice.
Okay, and then YPSI, did you want to add?
Sure. As part of the Sacktown Youth Nights program, that funding actually is Measure U dollars that comes through OVP. So we do have some communication with them there. And then as well as through the Sacramento Children's Fund, because violence prevention is one of our goals, we do communicate with OVP to get reporting and hear from them around violence prevention efforts in the city so that we can collaborate. But certainly I think we could improve our collaboration.
Okay, thank you. And I do want to say that I was really impressed with YPSI's numbers in terms of demographic information of the people that participated in the program. So I think for the Office of Violence Prevention, I would like to see that model, something similar for future reporting.
Councilwoman, we do have the demographics in our complete LPC report. So we do collect the demographics of what, of whom we're serving, the age groups, as well as the ethnicities and things of that nature. So we do have that information in our reports.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, if we can produce a report like Yipsy did that and send it over, that'd be wonderful.
Most definitely.
And then I know the last 3 slides, Dr. Clovo, on your presentation have next steps. And I want to hear more about your vision. Like, what are you thinking in terms of the next steps of, like, I hope to reach X, Y, and Z in terms of numbers for this type of service versus this type of service. Can you expand a little bit more about your vision for next steps?
Within our next steps, I would love to be able to have our organizations as well as our non-paid organizations working a little more collaboratively together and becoming one across the city. We do service the whole entire city, so I would love to continue to see that growth from our CBOs, as well as being able to expound on the type of services and trainings that we are delivering to our CBOs, and to establish more of a plan for them on how they can move forward in this work.
Okay, thank you. And I guess one thing that I would like to see is, I know we have programs for the gang violence intervention, prevention, and hoping, and well, the work that we need to do to make sure that we don't have any more gang violence or gun violence in Sacramento. But when a horrible incident happens, families are in a state of shock. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to even know what to do, what to say, how to communicate with the police department, how to communicate with the district attorney's office, how to communicate with reporters. And, I think families are left in a state of shock. So is there, within our 2 departments that help our families with this work, is there a category for that of how we respond to incidents that happen?
No, not in OVP. So our focus is to do the prevention work and the intervention work. And so we do have organizations that work in that realm and that deal with the aftermath and deal with the families, and they're often called to the scenes, which is covered under our critical incidents. So when they're called out to critical incidents, or sometimes they self-dispatch to those calls without being called by me or PD. And so they have the ability to refer to social services, mental health services, or to the organizations in which they all collaborate with and know the resources that each organization has available to help with. And so OVP as an overall, no, we don't. The funding is not to cover that. We strictly are focused on intervention and prevention work. Now, again, I know we have some organizations in this room who have other resources that avail them to be able to assist in those areas.
Yeah, and I'm familiar with a lot of the organizations that do come and they help our families that are in need in terms of crisis. And so I just wanted to follow up, and thank you so much for answering my question.
I think I missed one part of your question, though. And I think one part of it was helping mothers to move past. And I will say, for the first 6 years prior to even becoming the OVP director, that was a realm that I traveled in. And still in this role, I have assisted mothers through time as being a mother and experiencing what they've experienced to gun violence. I have helped mothers. I continue to help families. There's families in this space that are here, and some who have spoken, that I have helped and assisted as well.
Thank you so much, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Councilmember Bain.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you. First, I want to thank Dr. Clavo for her presentation and really just for your work in the community and as city staff doing this work to address violence in our city. Also want to take a moment to thank Julie and Jackie as well and our Yipsy team for all the great work that y'all are doing. and to all the community organization that came out today, who are really on the front lines doing this hard work, whether you're paid or not paid, you show up anyways. And so I want to take a moment to say thank you for showing up, to speak about the work that you're doing. It's going to take all of us to be able to address violence in this city. I think it is no secret that we all know that neighborhoods with lower incomes and communities of color often experience higher rates of gun violence. And it's not because who lives in these communities, it's because of long-standing neighborhood conditions. That is the truth, right? We know that when we have decades of investment, lack of economic opportunities, housing instability, limited access to mental health services, all of that contributes to the cycle of violence. And I think we are all in agreement about that. And I would also say that we are in agreement that public health and public safety actually requires a multi-tier approach. It's going to take all of us. And if we are to talk about effective violence prevention and reduction strategy, it really requires collaboration between community members, schools, local government, and our service providers. And I'm going to talk about, I think, my comments about this presentation at the end of my comments is really about what is our ecosystem and how are we actually utilizing the assets that we have to recognize the lack of resource that we do have. So I'll get to that. But I do have questions for OVP, for Dr. Clavo, and then I also have questions for our city staff as well. Dr. Clavo, one of your slides had mentioned how the various partnerships work under OVP. I think I had a quote here. It says, the goal is not a collection of independent programs, it is a coordinated violence reduction network, which is what I saw on the slide. I wanted to ask, how often do the Office of Violence Prevention actually meet with community care holders and orgs on violence prevention? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it when incident rises? And are these, the answer is, well, let me ask you that first. And then the follow-up question to that is, is it only with CBOs that's funded funded through OVP? Or is there actually a citywide hub of conversation happening around violence prevention?
At this time, I would have to say that no, we do not have an entire ecosystem in place. I would say that we have been meeting with only the funded CBOs. And I would also say that probably depending on sometimes, I would say quarterly, the last, I believe, meeting we had was at Ms. Rose's place, and we had a whole training there for all of our CBOs that were paid. And then I would say that individually, we would meet with them as well.
Okay. So at the moment, you only meet with organizations really on a regular basis that's funded. But there's no standing meeting of like community-based organizations or folks who are doing violence interruption or prevention where you are all thought partners as a brain trust to talk about how are we going to address violence?
Are you speaking of non-paid?
Yeah, I'm talking about, paid and non-paid, because I think
those conversations are taking place with the paid, and conversations are always open to the non-paid, but really not too many non-paid reach out and want to deal with us, other than like Mr. King always knocking. He calls frequently and asks, I think everybody in this room knows Mr. King calls everyone in this room if he has your number and asks, what can I do for you, sis? How things are going? I just want to be of service to you and things of that nature. So he is a constant norm in this field to reach out. But a lot of individuals, if they're not getting paid, they don't reach out.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I think for me as a councilwoman, I just want to understand if there is an actual central location where these conversations are happening, because I think that's important, whether you're paid or not paid. Obviously, our community organization should be compensated because it's like labor of love that they're doing, but I do think that there needs to be a central location where these conversations are happening. A quick question around CBO selection under OVP. Does your process only apply to city funds? Does the same CBO selection process also apply to state funding, state grants that we receive too?
100%.
So it's all of the funding, no matter if it's Measure U or if it's state funding. It goes through the city grants management system.
Yes.
Okay. And just really quickly, Julie, is that the same system? That's the same system that youth development admin uses as well?
Correct.
Okay, so you're both using the same system. That's good. Just want to make sure that we're not doing different things. Okay. On the last slide, Dr. Clavel, that you had on next step, how we can strengthen the work of the Office of Violence Prevention. On the PowerPoint, I saw that there was a needed next step to actually develop a strategy coordinated violence reduction plan. My question is, and I think City Manager did send a memo out, I want to acknowledge that, is that that is in the process. I want to ask, who is leading this plan? How are the various community care holders involved? And what is the timeline to actually develop this plan?
Good evening, Mayor and council members and City Manager Smith. My name is Amy Williams. I'm the Chief of Staff to the City Manager. I, along with the Office of Violence Prevention, Youth, YPSI, and of course representing the City Manager's Office, we've been working since early this year with an outside consultant to help us build a comprehensive community violence reduction strategy. This firm does work throughout the country and specializes in this kind of analysis and data and research. It was a it was an RFP process, so it was a competitive process. We are close to actually the 9 months. It's a 9-month process, so we'll be done in the fall. So the work started with a baseline assessment. So the firm came in at CNA, conducted a comprehensive document review, site visit, stakeholder interviews, internal and external stakeholder interviews. They reviewed all current programs, resources, coordination practices, how we use our data, where are we communicating, what forms of communication. So they really did the baseline work. Because we wanted to know comprehensively, what are we all doing? How do we tell our story better? How do we do this better? Where are the gaps? So the baseline assessment was completed in the first quarter of the work with this group. And then we entered into a landscape analysis. So right now, this is a strictly analytic process, the landscape analysis, where they evaluate our current efforts against evidence-informed models. So this company does this kind of work throughout, like I mentioned, throughout the country. And so they are looking at best practices, they're comparing us to others, what works well, what doesn't. They are looking at opportunities to strengthen alignments and also point out our gaps. They are interpreting, they've took the baseline findings and they're interpreting some of the opportunities that will ultimately build a strategic action plan. So I've gotten 2 deliverables so far. The last deliverable is the strategic action plan, and like I said, we expect it in the fall. Together with all the information, I think we will end up with something very concrete, something time-bound, and with steps, what we need to do to, address some of the things that I think, Dr. Clavo and all of us, we are wanting to do better. We see opportunity to do better, and so we're looking forward to getting that strategic plan wrapped up, and we can organize around it.
Thanks, Amy. I appreciate the update on that because I didn't know that was happening until the city manager informed us. So I really appreciate the update on that. I think one thing I would like to add, as it sounds like we're almost close to the end of almost developing the plan, is that I do hope that the care holders that are here today, that are our grantees, that have done this work, is also part of informing that strategy plan, because if we just have a consultant kind of just assessing without making sure it's informed by community, I'm worried that it's a plan that's not bought by the community. So I don't know all the details. I don't want to micromanage, but I think I just want to reaffirm that I hope that this consultant is working with our care holders as they're developing this strategy plan, because I think that's really crucial. So, okay, but that's great to know that that's being worked on, which actually relates to, I think, a question that I actually had around overall strategy. It sounds like this consultant, Amy, is also just assessing OVP and YPSI. Is that correct?
No, we had them sit down with 35 of our staff, city staff. I really wanted to make sure we weren't missing anything.
Okay.
You know, where does transportation play a role? Does you know, DCR or the fire department? So they interviewed a lot of internal staff to say, where do you cross lines with OVP or YPSI, where and also our ecosystem internally. And then we did do interviews with our current CBOs. I think we met with 17 individuals. So we got I made sure with the consultant that we got a good response and participation, because I know how important, you know, this is important. We want to do this right and get some good data and some good choices.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. Vice Mayor Talamonte kind of alluded to this a little bit when she asked the question if Dr. Clavo and YPSI actually meet regularly. I think that's really important. You know, if you're not doing it now, I think it shouldn't just be when you're trying to see if there's an organization that's supplanting. I do think that more regular conversation is really key, because there are all these various dollar streams. There's the grant funding that goes to Office of Violence Prevention, the $5 million, the $800K mental health, and then there's like the general fund Measure U that covers OVP 1.4 million, the VIDs, and then there's the Measure U dollar for Sacktown Nights, and then there's the Measure L. When we passed Measure L back in 2024, I felt that it was an opportunity for us to hit the reset button on ways that we actually monitor youth program throughout the entire city. I love the consistency in YPSI and under our youth administration team. I think they're doing a great job. Dr. Clavo, I think that you're doing a great job too, but I do think that there needs to be communication really so that we're all moving in parallel on the youth, on an actual citywide youth development plan. Because before I was on the city council, there was a citywide youth development plan and framework that was actually created in 2017 that was supposed to guide design, operation, evaluations of how we actually do these investment. And so it's so critical that both OVP and YPSI are in constant communication about all these programming, because if we're not, then we're really working in silo. And so I just want to emphasize that. And it could be, I don't know, it could be because we did the move. I know it was an executive decision from the former city manager to move OVP under the city manager and YPSI to the police. And I know that this is not an item that we're voting on. It's an item that council members are going to comment and maybe provide direction. But I just want to put on the record that I think it's really important that our new city manager, because she has a new set of eyes coming in as our new city manager, to kind of reassess and reconsider moving OVP back to YPSI or under her office. And I say that because I think that's really important. No matter where it moves, it's still under her watch, right? She is accountable to that, but I would like her to consider that because I do think that the collaboration would be stronger if that was the case. And then lastly, I just want to zoom out and talk about the larger strategy, because at the end of the day, for me, this is really about the ecosystem of creating a plan. And I saw that in Dr. Clavo's PowerPoint, so it's great to know that there's a plan being developed with care holders. Amy's working on that with the city manager. But when we look at all the funding that we actually talked about today combined, I just want to remind everyone that it is less than 2% of the entire city budget, okay? And yet youth violence prevention and interruption programs and community organizations are often left competing against one another for the small pool of resources, fighting for crumbs when we know the need is so much greater. And that is just not sustainable. It's not a sustainable strategy. And we should not be asking community organizations to compete with each other for survival. I think what we should be asking as a city council, which is why understanding our ecosystem and developing a strategic plan is so important, is because we should be asking, what resources do we already have? What are the gaps? What assets already exist in our communities that we can build upon? How do we align some of these investments so that we're working together rather than duplicating efforts? I think we're doing some of that, right? But there is no strategic plan that we have that I could point to that is doing these things, right? I think everyone's kind of doing their own thing. And so it's great to know that we have something in the queue regarding developing the strategy plan, but This is where like asset mapping comes in, right? It's so important because I know that our communities are not without solutions, that our young people are not without leaders, and that our organizations are not without expertise. And so the two things that I see as I'm listening to the conversation about violence prevention is two things. One, we lack the resources, which it is true, because we're fighting for crumbs, and that's a whole nother conversation to be had during budget season. And then the second is the coordination and strategy issue that we have. And it has to be, this conversation has to be about also building a coordinated ecosystem to support our young people, our older adults, and where the city should be investing infrastructure, right, to help continue to build that trust. And so those are my comments on this. I think at the end of the day, this is for me, I mean, my recommendation is for the city manager to reassess OVP. Does it make sense to be under PD, or does it make sense to be under her and YPSI? Making sure that we have a coordinated citywide strategy for violence prevention is going to be key. And so great to hear that there's that plan. My only ask is making sure that our care holders are part of that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dickinson.
Thanks, Mayor. I want to start by also thanking those who have come to speak this evening, and especially those who said, "I agree with the people who spoke before, and I'm not going to repeat what they said." Ditto is a beautiful word. So I'd love to see more of that. Your comments are just as impactful as if you spent your entire 2 minutes saying the same thing that had been previously said. And I want to thank both Dr. Clavo and Ms. Guerin for their presentations as well. I do have some comments, but I do have also a few questions that I'd like to ask first. And so some of these have some relationship to what's been discussed earlier, but maybe in a slightly different direction. And I'm curious, especially for you, Dr. Clavo, and I very much want to express my appreciation for your work, particularly coming out of your personal experience. What if any role do you see or have you carried out with respect to your work in coordinating or even communicating with other agencies? Councilmember Vang asked you about other community organizations, but I'm curious the extent to which, for example, you have any interaction with the Department of Human Assistance or the behavioral health staff of the county or the probation department or the schools. Is there any connection in your work on a routine basis between any outside governmental agencies that intersect with youth development and youth violence prevention?
Yes, I work very closely with the probation department. They have just stood up a new community outreach program where they're working with some of our CBOs and other CBOs, and so I've been help coordinating the meeting CBOs that we have paid and non-paid, helping introduce and giving that warm handoff to them, as well as I work closely and I'm very familiar with the chief of probation as well. And so sometimes he reaches out and asks for, a little guidance. He's new in his role. And so, yes, we do work with and attempt to coordinate with, and they are actually going, I believe, into an MOU with Ray Lozada. And so some of the referrals that'll be going through that process, and some of the CBOs in here has been a part of that process as well. And so probation will be working hands-on with Ray Lozada, and our CBOs will be receiving referrals from our youth and young adults through that process.
Okay, and that's the funded CBOs.
No, that is some funded and some not funded as well.
All right, and the non-funded are those that are working primarily with probation, then?
No, they're organizations that OVP is familiar with, may have once funded, no longer fund, but are still friends of OVP. Yes.
And is that an ongoing interaction, or is that more one time?
That's ongoing.
Okay. And On a different note, you talked some about the technical assistance given to grantees, but can you elaborate a little bit on the extent to which you or others you might call upon can give technical assistance to grantees who may be struggling with accounting or reporting requirements?
We give extensive technical assistance. We sit with them. The team will go out to their location and sit with them, go through their accounting practices, go through their receipts. Sometimes it could be a few receipts to several hundred. Again, they are reporting on a monthly basis. And so on a monthly basis, on the 20th of every month, their finances are due to the Office of Violence Prevention. Our team begins to comb through all of those receipts, supporting documentation, and things of that nature. They go receipt per receipt, supporting document. There we have an Excel workbook that they are able to utilize that is built with locked cells, and so they can't change it purposely. And so we sit and go through all of those tabs on their workbook with them to ensure that they have actually put, if it's an incentive for a youth, it's actually where incentives go. If it's a if it is a support item, be it clothes, books, shoes, whatever it may be, food, it is in the area where supporting items go. If it's in the CBO took them on a transformational excursion, then it's in that area. They also have to fill out, if they've given them gift cards, there's a gift card area where they have to log in the number of every gift card and show that the gift cards have been given. So we have a very robust financial system. And our financial system goes through several layers. It doesn't just end in OVP. Once it goes through 3 eyes, 4, including the captain, 4 eyes at OVP in that area, then it goes to our finance department. And then it goes through multiple hands and eyes through our finance department. So it's not just turn in an invoice and they get paid. We literally sit with them to make sure, and we won't approve until we're able to check off that they have actually met all of the requirements.
Okay, and so based on that, you have a high degree of confidence that the grantees have complied with their contractual terms respective to their grants?
A very high degree of confidence.
How would you say, again, you touched on this in your presentation, how would you say we measure outcomes?
There are several different outputs that they have to complete. So depending on their funding level, the more the requirements. Depending on the work that they're doing, the area, whether it's interruption, intervention versus prevention, they would have different levels of outputs, right? And so for those who are dealing with prevention, those are more of the individuals that are either dealing with our school-based youth, they have programs within our schools, maybe they have programs within some of the housing development areas and things of that nature. So youth kind of come a little bit easier to them. Then we have our intervention piece and our disruption piece. Well, you have to go out and kind of find those youth and again, be credible enough to be able to build that relationship and have those conversations with those individuals, and those individuals trust you enough to be able to want to deal with you. And so with those measures, we're looking at how many youth they've contacted. They have a requirement to contact so many youth, and that is set. We sit down with them with their scope of work and their proposed scope of work, and we look at, see what that looks like.
Okay, but contact is a process, it's not an outcome.
No.
So how is there some way that you do currently, or you would propose to measure What's the outcome of those contacts? What's the outcome of those interactions? What's the behavior that occurs as a result, if there's any effect at all of those outcomes?
Yes. So again, as I stated in the PowerPoint, the outcome would be if they actually change, the trajectory of their life is changed. If they stay out of trouble, if they don't commit any violent crimes, if they don't have any future police contacts, if they stay in school, if their grade point average is raised, if they become more active in their community, as you heard some of the kids attest to, they were fighting, they were involved in, crimes, they were gang active and things of that nature. Those things we would look at as outcomes. Those are things that we would say are positive outcomes, and that we are seeing positive outcomes come out of the work that our CBOs are doing.
And are we collecting data on those things that you just enumerated?
100%. We don't only collect raw data, but we also collect success stories. We also do pre and post surveys. And so our consultant collects that information from our CBOs throughout every month, as well as we get a mid-year report and we get a end-of-the-year report. So every 6 months I get a report, as the gentleman said, a pretty report with a lot of pretty graphs.
Yeah. And is that published and available to the public?
It is not currently, unless there's no reason it can't be. I'll say that.
Okay. With Ms. Guerin, with respect to Sacktown Youth Nights, you gave us some numbers of people who participated, kids that have participated and the like. How do you measure success of that?
Sure. So Sacktown Youth Nights is a little bit different in that these are pop-up events. So this type of grant program differs from some of the other violence prevention grant programs in that these grantees are not collecting individual level data. They're hosting pop-up events and they're touch points. So they're meeting with the youth who attend, and they may collect a few data points like race and ethnicity and gender. Apart from that, they're not going to be collecting individual level data that would really tell us that they improved across time. But what we can sort of say is that, out of these 50,000 participants since the program started, we kept those kids busy during those Friday and Saturday nights, which means they were safe, they were not involved in violence, and they were not on the streets. And so that is how we measure the success of Sacktown Youth Nights for that particular program.
Okay. And there's value to that.
Yes,
As one who started a Friday night basketball and arts program in North Highlands, I totally subscribe to the value of giving time to alternative positive activities. But then the question is, what do you look at beyond that, if anything, to see whether there's a more enduring effect of those kinds of events? Because, like it or not, we're always considering trade-offs of where we spend our money. And as Councilmember Vang pointed out, we're not flush in this subject matter. So I'm curious whether there's anything else beyond essentially head counts and demographics that you look at.
Yeah, specifically for Sacktown Youth Nights, because YPSI sort of took over the administration of that program through OVP. We haven't dug a lot deeper. We did look in our youth impact evaluation for the entire YDA portfolio at violent crime rates for youth and how they were reduced from 2022 to 2024. However, with a program just like Sacktown Youth Nights, we can't directly tie those results together. And so I'm really hesitant to say that we can prove that that is the result of Sacktown Youth Nights alone. And so that is one of the smaller, pop-up type events. And really we can just say that we were able to provide something for those youth to do during those days. When it comes to Sacramento Children's Fund, we have a much more robust evaluation planned, and we should be able to show long-term impact Hopefully, as the fund continues to push out funding, and we'll get more violence prevention funding year over year, and in that 3rd and 5-year reporting, we'll be able to come to you and say, look, this is what we've done, and this is the real impact we've made.
Well, I do agree with you about the difficulty of drawing a causal connection and making a correlation, but there are things you can look at. I mean, for example, referring back to the Friday night arts and basketball program in North Highlands, we saw a decline, and I happily was actually somewhat surprised. We saw a decline in juvenile crime on Friday nights in North Highlands. So did that program mean that there was a causal connection to that? I don't know for sure, but it certainly is encouraging in that respect. That's why I'm interested in what we're trying to draw on a broader scale about these kinds of events. But you anticipated my next question, really, because I also want to ask, how are we going to measure success with our Measure L programs, especially in this area of youth violence prevention?
Sure, great question. So earlier this year, we brought to council a consent item for a third-party consultant that we hired, Harder and Company, to help with a independent evaluation of the Sacramento Children's Fund. We're launching that evaluation now. And so that includes, finding shared measurement across all 5 fund goals. And as the council knows, it's a very, very broad grant portfolio. And so what we've started with is what I identified in the last slide of my presentation was a list of indicators that we are collecting on a quarterly basis, which then tie into long-term measurement. And I'll quickly list our long-term outcomes that are the current ones. However, they may be reshaped or added to as we work with our evaluator. So children and youth will succeed at school, be active, engaged community members, develop 21st century skills, have equal services and supports, and children 0 to 5 are ready to learn. Families are empowered in their children's development, and for violence prevention, youth feel safer and connected to a trusted adult. And so right now, those are the outcomes that the Sacramento Children's Fund is striving for over a longer period of time.
And is that in part developed through the commission?
Correct. Yes, these were outlined in our strategic investment plan, which was developed by the Sacramento Children's Fund Planning and Oversight Commission and adopted by City Council.
Okay. And just as a somewhat of an ancillary side note, on your last slide, you gave us some numbers of grantees who were reporting on various things. Youth and families report feeling supported and so on, but the maximum number of grantees you had reporting on one particular item was 9 out of 16, and on some was as low as 2 out of 16. Can you elaborate on why that is such a variance and is not the total number of grantees reporting?
Yeah, so the reason for that is that not all of our grantees collect individual level participant data. So for example, we have the Literacy Foundation, and they focus on providing books to children 0 to 5. And they distribute those books throughout all of Sacramento. That is, for example, under the 0 to 5 fund goal. We are not going to be able to collect indicator level data, this data listed on that slide, from those types of grantees because they're really just touch base and they're counting the number of youth that were provided the book. However, they're not collecting that sort of indicator level data for these types of programmings. We also have like the Food Literacy Center as a grantee, and they provide different sort of workshops to children. However, they're not doing surveys with the children or the parents to collect this level of data. So that's what I was trying to communicate there, is that depending on the type of grantee and if they're a touch point funded program, or if they're really doing the in-depth individual level data collection, you'll see a variance in what we can collect.
Okay, I do think that that's something, this is probably more in the Measure L context than this evening's discussion, but thinking about how we're going to make those judgments. Harder obviously has a long history of evaluation. I know we used them extensively with Measure 5, with the first 5, I should say, in the early 2000s. So I know that they've got a long track record. Thank you both for responding to those questions. I would say that I do think serious issues have been raised in the press, which need examination. And from my point of view, that is ultimately the job of the city manager. And I expect that she's already initiated a review of those issues. So I think that is the primary avenue for review, and we will see. I assume the results of that review, whatever it is, and then make an appropriate judgment about whether there's some additional level of review that we believe is required. But I don't think we are at the point yet of saying that there should be an independent or outside audit. I think this is what we hire a city manager to do, is to manage the city, and this falls in that category for me. I will say that I feel as if we are disconnected with respect to those both governmental and community-based organizations that are doing work regarding youth development and violence prevention. I do think that we would benefit by having a comprehensive approach as a city, recognizing that there also are other agencies and entities that are important, indeed critical to what we do to try to benefit the young people in the city of Sacramento and make sure that they have the best chance to grow up to pursue whatever their dreams might be in a very positive way. I do think that the location of the Office of Violence Prevention in the police department is hampers that effort to bring all organizations and people who are important together. We can't afford our young people are too important, and we can't afford to not do the very best we can with respect to assisting in their growth and development. And that means taking a comprehensive approach, in my view, that incorporates everyone. I think Councilmember Vang said we need everyone, and I agree with that. We had a very, this is ancient history, I suppose, but we had a very robust community coalition in the early to mid 2000s called Yes to Youth, that included an entire spectrum of organizations, most of which got no government funding for what they were doing, at least not directly for youth violence prevention. That coalition brought together all of, or at least most, I hesitate to say all in any case, most of the parties that were interested in this issue of youth development. I feel as if we're missing that now. And I feel that as a result of not having that we're not being as effective as we can and need to be. So I do encourage the city manager to examine the merits of moving the office out of the police department, placing it somewhere else, whether it's in the office of the city manager or elsewhere, because I think that will help us build the connections and the trust necessary to reconstruct that comprehensive approach to addressing the positive growth and development of our youth. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Kaplan?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank staff for the time that you took in putting this information together, but I also want to give a shout out when we talk about the Office of Violence Prevention. It's really thanking Councilmember Jennings. I don't think anybody has more experience in youth and youth programs and implementing what works in our schools and our community than you, Councilmember Jennings, and the Office of Violence Prevention really is your brainchild. So while you're still here, I want to say thank you because we're having that discussion many years later because of you. I really appreciate having this as our discussion tonight so that we can dig in because it does bear that sometimes we do really good things in the city and we are really bad at telling people what we do and what good comes out of it. And that goes to then it's good that we ask these questions and then figure out ways for transparency and rebuilding the trust that the community feels is broken, whether right or wrong, based off of facts or misviews. I think we have to take it as an opportunity of if the community feels that trust is broken, what can we do and how can we do it better? Because if there are facts that aren't aligned with how the community feels, then I think it's incumbent upon us as a city, what can we do differently? And one of the things I do appreciate and hope that we can do is when these reports and we have information, if there is a page or somewhere that it's popped up so that people can search it, be it on our website or if they're looking for data, what are we serving, how are we serving, having those reports accessible. I mean, it's all public information anyways, so I'm just a big believer in that transparency. So I want to ask just a couple of questions, which I know you guys answered, but just to make sure I heard it right, I want to ask them on. When we look at our selection of community-based organizations, Dr. Clavo, who comes up with the eligibility criteria?
The eligibility criteria is in the city grant management manual. And so it's a process that's been in place. And I know in the recent year and a half or so, I think it was, they were revamping the citywide grant management manual. But that's where the eligibility requirements as far as checking the Secretary of State, BOT, city supplier ID, and all of those things would come in.
So that this is not
charitable trust.
So this isn't you saying this is what the eligibility, it's the citywide grant management that we look at for all grantees.
Yes, ma'am.
And so on the merit review, how do we determine who's on the panel for a merit review?
City and PD leadership chooses the panelist.
But you're not on that?
No, ma'am.
And then, so who makes the final decision? Is it one person, or when you have the merit review, how does a final decision come about?
The scoring from the panelists are ranked. Those scores are ranked in the city grant management system. And so depending on the amount of funding, it is determined how many grantees will be awarded, where it seems to be an equitable amount, again, depending on the proposed work and what that funding amount will be for the proposed work said grantee has proposed. And then with that ranking, those are the individuals that are chosen. So highest to least.
So that then moves just a little bit over to you, Julie, because we spent so much time when Measure L was passed, like how do we score, how do we rank? Is the scoring and the ranking somewhat kind of similar or off our grants management plan, or where are they same or different?
Correct. So we also use the citywide grant policy and YDA. We sit on the grant steering committee. So for the documentation required, it's going to be very similar. Sometimes for the Sacramento Children's Fund, we ask for additional items such as MOUs that the grantees may have in place. So if they're applying and they say they work with a school district, we want to see that MOU. We also ask for their certificates of insurance up front. And then we go and verify that they are, indeed in compliance with Secretary of State. So you can log on to their website and check. We do all of that before we even start to review their applications through a panel. And then our panels, it's a little bit different from Dr. Clavo. Our panels are selected by, with recommendations from the commission that was built into the strategic investment plan, but staff will go out and recruit a multidisciplinary review team, and it'll be professionals in the field. So for Sacramento Children's Fund, we looked for professionals all across different multidisciplinary organizations, public entities, and then professionals in each of the 5 fund goals to assemble our team. And then they have to go through a very intensive conflict review process with the city attorney. A lot of them are eliminated just because we're so particular about making sure that this process is fair for grantees. And then again, they go through the same GMS process. The panel scores the applications, they're ranked. But with the Sacramento Children's Fund, City Council has the final say on all awards. So we bring all of the awards to council, and you all get to make the final decision on who's awarded those funds.
Thank you. Yeah,
I can go back real fast. And so I did leave out that part. During the eligibility criteria, we do go through all of the insurance documents and all of those things before they are referred up to the panel.
So I pretty much know the answer to this, but can we change the minimum eligibility? Or does that put our money in jeopardy?
I would not change it.
Sorry, can you expand on what you're asking? So you mean like the
Eligibility,
documentation?
no, the eligibility criteria.
Yeah, I think that would be in council's purview to impact what's written in the grant policy that we use to guide all of our administration.
And then, Dr. Clavo, just explain why, is this best practices? Are we asking too much? Like the eligibility, because I hear a lot of complaints, and I'm asking this because people, we hear it's just too hard. There's too many requirements, and I'm trying to kind of understand, are we best practices, or should we change it, or what are we missing, or are we right where we need to be?
Council member, you stated minimum qualifications and eligibility. I think we are at the minimum eligibility and criteria. So if we lower the bar, what I heard tonight is a lot of people having complaints that we don't have a robust enough eligibility criteria. So if we lower it anymore and we don't hold accountability, when I was hired into this position and I was brought into this office, I leaned in on accountability. And if we lower it, what are we holding them accountable to? If they can't prove that they have insurance, if they can't prove that they're registered with the Secretary of State, if they can't prove that they are registered with the charitable trust, if they can't prove that they're actual 501(c), which I may have left that part out, we do check for that as well, then what are we holding them to?
And I want to ask this, but be very clear. I'm actually not asking for lower eligibility. I'm just trying to get where are we? And because it is important when we look at the meager dollars we are spending. What standard are we holding individuals and CBOs to? Is it too much or too little? Which that's why I'm asking these questions, because it bears hearing and having this conversation. Are we doing enough? And if it's not enough, how do we build more trust? And should we look at how we're doing that criteria and eligibility? So just moving quickly over to accountability. is our accountability built on best practices? How did we come up with it? Because I know it's slightly different, like CalVIP has a certain level of standard, but like, do we need to look at expanding how we do accountability? Are there different measures, or are we just fine?
I'll speak for OVP. When I came into this office, I was in the city manager's office, and I was on the city side, and there was no accountability measures in place. We had CBOs that were completing invoices and being paid. And one of the things our former mayor and I, when we would be on the 5th floor and passing, and I'd be like, well, we're pulling the armored truck out, and we're just throwing dollars out into the city, because there was no accountability. There was not the accountability that I have in place today. And I'll say, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, one of the pluses about being in the police department, it allowed me to build those accountability practices, because their practices are far and beyond anybody else's practices in this city, and when it comes to public dollars. And so I was able to create the system that we are currently using, and collecting and being able to set up the infrastructure that our CBOs are currently using, and having to fill out all of the workbooks, the financial workbooks, and having to show all the documentation, having to submit all the receipts, and making sure all their ducks are in a row.
So is Measure L, when we look at accountability in the grants that we went out and handed out, is it similar to what the Office of Violence Prevention is doing?
Yeah, and I can speak for Measure L because it is its own sort of program, and the fact that we came to you all and you said we want extra oversight over these funds. And so we implemented a risk assessment on grants over than $50,000. We do a performance review after the first initial term of funding for grantees. So for Sacramento Children's Fund, the initial term is 1.5 years. We're coming up on that. We're going to conduct a full review before we go in and just continue on the subsequent grant terms. We also, out of the Sacramento Children's Fund and the CMO's office, we put in a new grant exhibit called the Grantee Compliance Exhibit, which outlines what we do if a grantee doesn't submit reporting. We didn't have a lot of power built into our agreements previously for what we do in that situation. And this outlines it. It gives the rights to the grantee so they know how they can cure, and it lets us know what we can do if a grantee continues to be out of compliance. So yes, we do similar things, and born out of the Sacramento Children's Fund and guidance from the Commission and Council, we added these extra layers to make sure that these dollars, we're accountable for these dollars.
And I just want to say thank you to both of you, because I think it is really important when we talk to the community about this, that we explain how things are done, especially with choosing community-based organizations, and where is accountability, and how do we audit, and is the money going and producing good results of addressing violence prevention. Just a couple of comments as we move forward. I had started speaking with Chief Lester probably, and you, Dr. Clavo, 2.5, 3 years ago, of a comprehensive youth violence prevention plan. You really look at what Baltimore has done and their mayor, and then you look at Denver and some of the others. They are on top of it, and I'm appreciative that we've got this plan coming. My hope is when the plan, the consultant deems close, we actually have a community stakeholder, because any plan that comes to the council, if we don't have some buy-in that they have stake in the game with our CBOs and those who are funding out of the Measure L fund, like, what is this for? I know you, and so I know it's not just having a consultant tell us, but if people don't have buy-in and don't have their voice heard, it doesn't mean anything, even if they agree with everything. So for me, I want to make sure before it comes to council that there is some sort of ability, just like we do with all of our plans of like traffic safety or pedestrian safety, we put it out to the community for feedback before it comes to council for finalization. So that is something I hope we can do. And then one of the things I'm curious about, is it looking at also the strategic investment plan with Measure L? Because council spent so much time of what is our strategic investment around the 5 areas. As we know, only 3.4% of the approximately 25 million is going for violence prevention, but we can't have these conversations if we're in the silos. So that's why it leads me to my next is I feel like we have a lot of overlap, but we're not comprehensive in that, you know, to create trust, there has to be like the same level of accountability, the same level of transparency. And I know Measure L is voter, but council had a lot of input on that. And how do we create it? Because Yipsy going, I have to do this, and Dr. Clovo goes, I have to do this. You know, there has to be some sort of umbrella, because I think, you know, while you guys have communication, what is the strategic view of this in City Hall and how we handle this policy? I'm in agreement, and Dr. Clavo, you and I have talked about this. Sometimes it's okay of like moving something somewhere and going somewhere else, but I think it's time that OVP finds a different house of where you're situated under. And it could be maybe the city manager decides we need this whole other area. But I think as we move forward with Yipsy, what they fund, and our Measure L fund and U fund, having you guys all together, I think there needs to be, I would hope that that's where the city manager goes. That's my 2 cents. And no offense to our police department, but I think it was a good house while it was there. But I think it's time to move the house. And it's not a comment on anybody. It's just where are things appropriate, and maybe it's time to move that consideration. I have always said that sometimes I think the city does not partner enough with our schools. Our kids are there every day, 5 days a week. And if we are not in alignment with what our schools are doing for violence prevention and handling, we are wasting some of our money. And so I'm really interested, as I know we changed some things in how we partner with our schools, but how are the CBOs that we at the city use partnering with our schools? Are the schools actually using them in that conversation? Because I think we are missing the gap, and this is just an aside comment on Measure L. I find it wholly inappropriate that we only fund 1 school district in the city when we have 4 school districts within our city boundaries. So that should be never something where we only fund 1 school district over others. So it is really important as we look at how do we address violence prevention and youth violence prevention. Our schools need to be in the room with us, Jarman Leach, Ray Lozado, who at Robla, who at Twin Rivers. That has to be, because it's together, because the kids move boundaries. Violence moves boundaries, and so we need to be united on that. And I just want to thank you. I know this is not a one and done and it's not over, but I really think we can do better in housing and the coordination to make sure we are strategically using the limited resources we have in the best way possible to get to our kids that really need that example. Thank you.
Member Jennings.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Clavo, I've been very impressed with your presentation today and your staff and everything that you've said. And I've listened to my colleagues and all the different things that they've said, some of the ideas that they have, and some of the things that are going to happen from this point going forward. And what I want to do is I want to give you and me some time to digest these 10 pages of notes that I have. And we can sit down over lunch and really kind of go through it and try to pull something out that will help you and help the department moving forward. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to continue to hold you here tonight. I don't want to ask you all the questions that I have to ask. I don't want to have to find them in all the notes that I've written. But I want to sit down when I can digest this and then really have a kind of conversation that I feel would be beneficial to both of us. And so with that, I will give up my time of the microphone, and I look forward to setting up a time with you one-on-one where we can talk about these things.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. First, I wanted to say that, the fact that we've spent the better part of 3 hours discussing this issue is important, because it means we care. We want to make sure we're effective with not only the taxpayers' dollars, but more importantly, the lives of our young ones. And so to me, I just want to say also thank you for everyone who's been involved for some issue that has affected their life. Many times it's been a tragedy. Many of us have either been affected by it in different ways. My family's no different. So I just want to say, I think for today's discussion, being able to tease out how do we do this better. And I do want to thank Councilmember Rick Jennings, because when I first came onto the council in 2015, the idea of putting together a task force to focus on prevention and intervention, it led us in this direction. And I want to thank you for that effort, and I was proud to second that motion and continue that work, and we have more to do. So I'll just say that there's a lot said. There's more information that's going to come out. I think the questions were rightly asked, and I look forward to the responses for most of those questions. With that, Mayor, thank you very much, and most importantly, thank you to everyone who's actually day-to-day working with young people out in our community.
Thank you, council member, and every council member spoke on this issue. I knew they would, and I actually asked the city manager that we agendize this topic with nothing else on a Tuesday night, that this could be our sole topic, because it is such a key issue, and it's not because we saw issues recently in the newspaper talking about how we could do better. We can always do better with our programs, or we unfortunately read about too much youth violence in some of our neighborhoods, and we see that all too often, but because this is a continuous continuity of work. And I will note that Sacramento is leading on this. I just did some research and looked at Sacramento, how much we spend per capita versus other cities, and we are in the lead. Granted, we're not winning, otherwise we wouldn't hear about horrific incidents sometimes on Sunday mornings. But that shows the commitment to this topic, and certainly with Measure L, thanks to the council before us for finalizing that. As I always say here, Mr. Dickinson brought this topic up 15 years ago to have a dedicated fund for youth programs, and now we have it. We're one of the few cities that has that, so you don't have to compete, as Councilmember Vang says, with general fund every year. So we have that. But the big picture here is just the numbers. You know that it's easy to count and to say, did you hear? Did you hear what happened in Old Sacramento with the young teenager? Did you hear what happened in Del Paso Heights with the young kid? Did you hear what happened outside the Sim Center? Yeah, we all hear that. That's easy to count. And you can't always count, did you save somebody from not doing that? And that's the amazing work that you and all of the community members do. And I just want to applaud that and thank you. You're not doing this for fame nor fortune, I know that. You're doing this because you believe in the future of Sacramento and our youth. So I just want to express our deep appreciation. And to my council members, I know there's nothing more horrific than getting the call from the police chief on a Saturday night. And like everybody has examples here. And as Rogers mentioned earlier, in his earlier career of night programs, I remember as a council member, the police chief, Summers or Nahara, I forget who it was, called and says, oh, there was a young teenager that was shot outside the George Sim Community Center. And I was like, what time was it? They're like, it was 8 o'clock. It's like, huh. So I went the next weekend to the community center, and it was closed. It's like, well, there you go. And so we started raising money, and we created the Hotspot program, which now is transitioned to the Sacktown Youth Nights. And that's not a panacea. is there Friday Night Lights? Is there a guarantee that that young person would have been in the community center and not getting in trouble outside in the parking lot? Maybe, maybe not, but there is a 0% chance that they'd go inside if it was closed. There's at least a chance that they'd go inside if we offer these programs, and that's what we're going to keep doing and doubling down. It was all said tonight, all these ideas. My only thing that I just want to focus on is two things. I think we should evaluate the oversight of these programs. I'm not sure how much they're going to change the actual delivery of these, but it certainly would change the view of the community and the trust. So I think that is important. I would ask that as well. And just, whether or not we're working together with Measure L and Yipsy and our programs in under this program here, I think most importantly is just how do we maximize? How do we maximize dollars? At the end of the day, we want to serve more kids, more nights, more families, more people, and have more opportunities to have an interject and stop something negative potentially happening. So just continue to focus on how we can maximize and share our resources, and whether it's with school districts or moving our state money through our AB 28 resources. Thank you for mentioning that. That's one of the things I'm really proud of that we accomplished in our final years in the legislature. So with that, this work continues. Tonight was receive and file and give feedback, and we provided plenty of that. So stay the course, and thank you, our city departments and community members, for working on these topics. So thank you. Okay, that concludes this item. No vote on this topic. So next item.
Thank you. We move to council comments, ideas, questions, and AB 123 reports. Vice Mayor Talamantes.
Oh, never mind. I accidentally punched up.
Councilmember Vang.
Thank you. Just one announcement. Wanted just to remind folks to join us Sundays at our Meadowview Certified Farmers Market at the Meadowview Light Rail Station. That is from 9 to 1. So make sure you stop by. The last day for the season is October 25th. And then I want to just invite everyone to join us for our 6th annual South Sac Festival happening at Valley on August 29th. Saturday, August 29th from 11 to 3 p.m. There's going to be free health screenings, haircuts, culture performances. It's our big annual event in South Sacramento, so come through. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have a city manager's report? No, thank you. So we move to public comments, matters not on the agenda.
Yes, can we just wait 10 seconds and ask the public to exit before we start public comments?
Do I get to announce that again? Okay.
No, the audience, no, the 1 million Sacramentans throughout the region were watching you online, and they will be at that South Sac Community Festival. Yes, they will. Okay, public comments.
Thank you, Mayor. The first speaker is Rebecca Sandoval. I do not see Rebecca. Kyle Williams. I think Kyle's already left. Mervyn Brookins. Following Mervyn is Leanna L., Kevin Bolts, Zion Tatis.
Hi, guys.
Do we have Mervyn? I think Mervyn was ahead of you. Okay,
She can
go ahead, Leanna.
Oh, no, Marvin,
There you go.
No, it's your turn. You got before me.
All right. Good evening, Council. I know it's late, so I'm going to be very brief. I really wasn't even going to speak tonight, but since there was this coordinated effort to bring to your attention the article of the B, which Brother to Brother was mentioned in and not a favorable light, I had to come and speak to you because over the years, this council has supported Brother to Brother, invested in Brother to Brother, so I owe you to come in and speak truth to you. With some of the things in the article mentioned true, yeah. Brother to Brother has not always been in compliance. In fact, Brother to Brother didn't even know what compliance was. When I took over Brother to Brother, we were good at the work, not the paperwork. And I didn't know what I didn't know. So over the years of doing this and working with different people, I've learned and I retained people to help us get things right. We don't always get it right. I own that. And it stops with me. It's nobody else. It stops with me. But I want to assure this council that once it came to my attention what we didn't do right, we got it corrected. And it's been corrected. So I just want to assure this council that your trust and faith in brother to brother is taken seriously. We can stand under any audit. As Dr. Clavo said, we're audited every month. And we can stand on, and more importantly, we can stand on truth. At this moment, there's 300 kids in Del Paso Heights enjoying our youth summer program. Our work speaks for itself. But again, I just had to let the council know, because you believed in me, I'm not going to let you down. I'm not going to betray your trust, and I'm damn sure not going to do anything illegal. So with that said, we'll continue to stand on truth and have a beautiful rest of the night.
Thank you, Mert. Thank you.
Leanna, then Kevin, then Zion.
Hi. It's really good to see your guys' eyes. I really appreciate the attention, even though you can't always give it to the rest of the constituents. Mr. Dickinson, Roger, buddy, your applauding of people to keep their comments short and sweet and then asking the same question like 10 different ways is not really saving anyone time or doing anything good for anyone. Like how we have limited amounts of money, all of us have limited amounts of time, which I'm sure you're very, very, very well aware. So maybe we keep that in mind, is that if you want us to be concise, how about you try it? If you want us to have decorum, how about you guys have decorum? If you want us to be here and be a part of this, which I guess you guys don't, so maybe I shouldn't say that one, but we're going to be. We're not going to let up. This is my new part-time job, Kevin. I'll be here every week. Yeah, I'm not letting up. You will not get away with this. You are allowing ICE and PD to act like a fucking gang in this city. And you are acting like you are fine with it and okay with it, and all that says is you are a Nazi. So I would like you to check yourself. Karina, yourself, all of you need to check yourselves, because supporting any of this is supporting a Nazi regime. And there's no other way to say this. Do you give a shit about your constituents and their rights? Prove it. Show us. Except for your little hot mic moment trying to block us, I know you don't want us here. But we will keep coming back, and the boot will stay on your neck until you do what your constituents ask of you, which is doing what they say. It's pretty fucking basic. Don't let.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Kevin Boltz, Zion Tatis.
I would like to double what my comrade said, Mr. Dickinson. First off, telling people not to use their time is atrocious. Second off, if you're not going to shut the fuck up and not repeat what was already said, don't tell other people not to. So I watched ICE roll out 13 vehicles deep today, and apparently some point of that snagged a mother after she had dropped her child off, at an elementary school. The same ICE that is sponsored by the federal government, the same ICE who you all decided to sell our data to for a pittance $800,000, which is like a rounding error in the city's budget. Like, at least get some fucking money to sell this out.
We're in a deficit.
You would think. So we are heading towards times of political polarity. The far right and far left are espousing more and more popularity in our country. And most of you, despite the fact you don't know it because we live in America, if you're a liberal, you are on the right, just not the far right. And you guys are the ones who never really come out good in this equation. In Germany in the 30s, you brought Hitler to power, and then you ended up in concentration camps. In communist places, you also don't fend well. So my question is, what are you doing, historically speaking? What is your actual plan? What is your actual goal? As our society falls apart, as material conditions get worse and worse, as our soldiers are swimming in shit on aircraft carriers, what are we actually planning to get done? Because I don't understand it. And I understand a lot about how people work, but I don't actually understand what your plan is and what you're trying to accomplish, other than pissing off the general populace to a point where it probably is not good for your longevity. So she said we'll keep coming back. We will. But as I said, if you don't listen here, we can go other places and have this conversation. And I've been getting bored anyway, so I want to do some fun stuff. And I got no fucking problem pretending you're Daryl Steinberg. So we can do that. Because I fucking hate him. And I'll pretend I hate you the same way. You guys have...
Thank you for your comments. Zion Tatis, then Kevin Brown, then Lambert Davis.
Hi, everyone. Again, thank you for having me. So, the city manager, please, I need you really to check on our cannabis core equity program. The same thing we're having when it comes to the grant, how they're distributing it. It was supposed to be reimbursement. I am qualified to be reimbursed. I have the receipt and everything. Now they're holding me on hostage. The administration, they're not even there. Lindsay is not there. Fiona is not there. At the crucial time that they're supposed to be there, administrating us, helping us get to where we need to get to the business. In fact, they're becoming harder for us because they change every grant season. 1 minute they say, oh, you get a grant because you're still in tier 1. Oh, the next time, oh, if you're in tier 1, you're not moving, oh, you're not getting the grant. So they don't know what they're doing. Now they're holding me hostage over some loan. They failed to communicate with me. They sent me on August 5th and demanding I have to pay by August 8th, which I didn't even get the email. When Lindsay, I emailed her before. She didn't get my email. She rejected me. When I told her, you got my email. Oh, no, okay, we're giving you now. So they're messing us up. The administration, you guys need to look at who are administrating these grants. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what we have to go through to build our businesses. It's taken me 2-3 years because of them, because they don't know what they're doing. So I need you to really look at this grants, what they're doing. They're getting their salary while they're still on vacation, and we are working hard to get my business going, and which I fought for me, myself, for the cannabis equity by myself, so I can build my cannabis businesses, so not only for me and for my community, but because of...
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Our next speaker is Kevin Brown. Your time is complete. Please take your seat. Our next speaker is Kevin Brown, then Lambert Davis.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, to our council members, to our city manager. I rose briefly and was not aware of the calendar, but I came tonight because back in June or July, I tried to come and present something to two distinguished council members. One being Councilmember Kaplan, and the other being Coach Councilmember Jennings. We happened to participate in a pro-social activity called golf during a fundraiser, and I happened to witness a miracle. And that miracle happens to have been bestowed upon Councilmember Kaplan, the one-putt golf certificate for her above average putting on that particular day. And on another separate occasion, I happened to personally witness the same accomplishment by our council member, Rick Jennings. And I wanted to come down publicly and present something to kind of lighten the moment to say, hey, thank you for your continued support and all that you all do. And so with that being said, I'd like to present this here. And thank you for all that you do.
So bring that skill to the city-county cup. Okay?
Next speaker is Lambert Davis, then Alyssa Gotti.
I had to bring some notes with me. I hope that everybody on the rostrum pays attention, because one thing I'm not going to do, I'm not going to go past 2 minutes. I don't think I've ever been cut off by Minty Cuppy. Now, this is, my family showed me this today. This is from the Sacramento Bee. We were nominated our mother's cheesecake was nominated for the best dessert, and I didn't tell the millennials while they were out there pushing that they're not going to announce it until after the midterms. I knew it, but they didn't. So when it was over the 9th, they came to me and said, well, did we win? And I said, that's one thing you got to learn. You got to learn to read the fine print. It said it's not going to be announced until November 9th. I already knew that, so I didn't get excited. I was excited. They were excited, but my focus is on what I'm getting ready to talk about. Now, in Southern California, we've gone viral down there. And the first thing they asked me was, how are we going to do it? And I said, that's my job. We already have a manufacturer which can meet demand. Now, I reached out to a guy named Ash Ragani. Why? Measure U. He's involved in that. And it was Mrs. Dickerson who said, it's very unfortunate what happened to Mr. Davis during the participatory budgeting process. My family's a huge fan of her for saying that because it's true. I was able to catch them making peculiar moves with my paperwork. But it did say that I should reach out to my district, the mayor. This is Ash Ragani. My district, the mayor, and the city manager. I hope you reach out to us because we're ready to go.
Next speaker is Alyssa Gatti. Following Alyssa is Marbella Sala, Daniel Silva.
My name is Alyssa. I am a community organizer, and I am a member of Camp for Justice behind John Moss Federal Building. Violence prevention was on the agenda tonight, and I want to know exactly what y'all are doing about the most dangerous and well-funded gangs in Sacramento, ICE, DHS, and SAC-PD. While y'all sit up there talking about violence prevention and funneling more money into SAC-PD, you're ignoring all of the violence perpetrated by both them and ICE in our community every day. You're ignoring protesters hit by cars, sprayed with crowd control spray at point-blank range, beaten and unlawfully detained by DHS and ICE. I myself was almost hit by an ICE vehicle today. SAC-PD, another dangerous gang, has been collaborating with ICE despite Sacramento's supposed sanctuary city status. I want to know what y'all are going to do about this violence in our community. You're so concerned about decorum in the chamber, but you can't maintain decorum yourselves. Most of you can't even be bothered to pay attention to speakers during public comment. You call that decorum? You consistently ignore the wishes of your constituents, the very people who elected you, the people that you're supposed to represent. Ignoring the voices of the many people who showed up to demand that their data not be shared with the federal government, and for good reason. If you paid attention to your constituents, and I want to emphasize constituents, not audience, as was stated previously, we wouldn't be here disrupting. Your viral hot mic moment where you were caught discussing how to ban residents from public comment and your threats to eject city residents for voicing their dissent when you refused to listen during public comment are frankly shameful and completely antithetical to the values of transparency and public deliberation, values that are core pillars of democratic governance. If you are in politics for any other reasons but self-serving ones, now is the time to reevaluate and correct course before you all get recalled. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Marbella Sala. I believe Marbella is left. Daniel Silva. Is Daniel here? Mayor, that appears to conclude the business of the council.
Okay, do we have any adjournments to memory? Do we not?
I don't.
We do want to thank Officer Lanham, who just got promoted to a lieutenant at the last promotional ceremony for SAC-PD, so congratulations. You'll no longer be our Sergeant Arms, and we wish you well in your new assignment. Congratulations, Lieutenant. With that, we're adjourned.